everybody, to another edition of the In the Paint Show, episode 154. Here again for another week with my regular co-hosts, Chelsea Hopkins and Ani Oman. I appreciate you guys being on. How are you guys doing this morning?
I'm doing well. Just kind of waiting to play again. We're on national team break here in Israel, so going on 2 weeks of no games, and we actually don't play until next Thursday. So kind of just hanging out. Happy to be here, but ready to play basketball again.
Yeah, Chelsea, in this stage of your career, we've talked about load management. That was what our episode 153 was really about, load management and a great, like, LeBron chasing Kareem's scoring record, and we'll get into that here in a minute, But on that note, do you, at this point in your career, do you want to, get right into the games? Do you appreciate the rest? How does that work for you?
I mean, I definitely appreciate the rest. I play a lot of minutes here, probably 37, 38 minutes a game. So it's always good to have a little bit of a break, but at the same time, I'm like an old car. Like, when I get going, I'm rolling, but when I shut down, I gotta get it back up again. So, like I said, the knees appreciate it, but my body would just like to keep it going. So we've been practicing like crazy, and I'm kind of tired of practicing, honestly. So I'm looking forward to this game coming up next week.
Yeah, that makes sense. Ani, how are you doing?
I'm doing good, man.
Yeah.
Just ready to get to it,
Yeah, talk a little bit about our different topics.
For sure.
Yeah, definitely. We're going to hit quite a bit of topics. Obviously, we're going to talk a little bit about what our main topic is, the all-time great and scoring record now that LeBron owns, and where does that put him on the all-time top five? We're really going to hit our all-time top fives. Last week, we kind of talked about the back end of the NBA with our guest Jason Powell and how that works in preparation, how that changed over the years. And obviously, Chelsea, you have some experience in that, playing pro ball. But we're going to start about with the game itself, that where LeBron did pass the record against the Oklahoma City Thunder about a week ago. I was just a little appalled watching it. Again, you have the world watching. It's a Tuesday evening. Maybe some casuals. A lot of casuals are tuning in. Maybe people that haven't watched many games this year. And to be quite frank, I can see why the Lakers made trades. I just thought their effort was appalling. But I want to get your opinion about the game itself.
Yeah, I thought it was a sloppy game by LA. I thought they needed that win. Sure. I know it's not just a do or die situation, but it was an important game. And, for them trying to jostle for position, like to get into play in, maybe potentially not getting to play in, they get, get into a win streak. But just bad shot selection. Thought they force-feeded LeBron like crazy. I'm happy for him, obviously, but I think, with all that, they still lost, and it was a very winnable game, and they should have won. So that was kind of my takeaway with that game.
Yeah.
Chelsea, what do you think?
I totally agree with you, Ani. I didn't catch the entire game. I just saw some pieces of it, especially when, they kind of stopped the game in the middle to present Bron, with his award. But every game is important to the Lakers. So I'm honestly glad that it's over. The moment itself kind of, was huge, and I'm a super Bron fan, so I'm excited for him. But it just kind of reminded me of like when Steph was chasing the all-time threes, and, he was in a slump. It took him a couple games to get there. And it just seemed like the focus was so much on him hitting the milestone that, it kind of takes importance off of what's the main thing, which is actually winning. And the Lakers are not in a position to drop winnable games, in my opinion. We made some moves and stuff at the deadline, but every game matters. And the fact of the matter is the Lakers made moves, but other teams did too. So now the West is kind of even stronger than it was.
Yeah. Yeah, I noticed that we talked about the moves and Lakers getting better. At that time, again, with that part of the roster, obviously it's changed a lot. We'll get into that a little later. Right. Their foot speed was bad. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander was basically playing 1-on-9. Like, he's just moving at a different pace than everybody. The Lakers had nothing. Like you said, they didn't answer anything. It's just like they're getting a bucket. They're giving it up a bucket. They're giving it's just like they had no identity. And Ani, you mentioned like shot selection and it was just a random shot. So it looked like people knew, like, okay, I'm going to maybe get moved here at this deadline. I don't give a hell. Let LeBron get this record.
Right.
It is what it is. And then in LeBron's case, again, we'll talk about him and where his standing all time, obviously. But, him at his age. And honestly, he looked tired. He did. He just looks like, and the way he's playing looks tired. Like, he's really big. He's not moving at the speed he once did, and he's dribbling from 45 feet out every time. Like, LeBron moving the key a little bit. He's such a great interior passer. He's such a great passer, period. Make the game easier. It seemed like they were making the game very hard. It just took like a lot of the energy, and obviously Oklahoma City won the game. And like I said, I just thought Shai Gilgeous-Alexander was just like Chelsea said, they kind of stopped the game, and Oklahoma was standing around like, okay, guys, go ahead and have your moment. We're gonna kick your butt right when we stop this game. We're gonna just kick your butt when we start up again. Like that's kind of what I got out of it. Like there was no fire to play off that like momentum of that emotional moment, you know, just like it was just like a break in the Lakers had another letdown, you know. So that's kind of what I got about that. But we'll talk about those breaks. Let's jump to another topic and just a big topic. You know, I want to get your take on it in the state of the game, like this New Mexico State thing. And you know, the New Mexico State just shuts this program down. They also had the shooting earlier in the season where one of the players, I believe, killed a civilian or a citizen from the University of New Mexico. And then now they have this incidents of hate. So the somebody at the school, I guess it's assuming the school president or maybe the board of regents, just decided to shut the program down, and the WAC just canceled their schedule.
Yeah, you know, that like the shooting, the first part, that was crazy. Then getting the coaches on tape lying, you know, them trying to hide the evidence. That was wild. Yeah. Then the situation out with the hazing, and there's more stuff that I've been hearing, but it's not confirmed yet, so I won't really say much to that. But just everything I've heard, even with New Mexico State, like this year, I mean, that was the right decision. They need to shut that down. It's bad. it was that bad. That going on in a locker room and just in a program, you know, that they need to shut down. But it to me is worse than what's even being put out right now.
Yeah, I think you might say. Now, Chelsea, in your opinion, have they made bigger changes, or should something have happened after the shooting, or say that's one person, he's responsible for himself, he's a young adult, you know, the rest of the team and the rest of the people employed should be, do their job? Or do you think no, this is what should have caused the shutdown?
Well, I mean, I think the shooting was an isolated incident, and you don't necessarily want to punish the rest of the players for, one player's actions. But then when something like this comes out, like I just feel like the whole program needs a total reset. Sure. Like their coach obviously doesn't have control of the locker room. No. As a player, I just can't imagine being comfortable doing some of the stuff that I've heard. And like Ani said, like all of the stuff hasn't even come out yet, but just the very little tidbits that we're getting here and there, it's just like, why were the players even so comfortable thinking that doing something like this was okay? So that means the leadership, from the top is just, they need to start over. But I think it was the right decision because at this point in time, there's just way too much going on. You can't even focus on basketball. So, they needed to, shut the season down for sure.
Gotcha. And Ani, back to you. Do you think like everybody's gone, the AD, the head coaches, the staff, if they're just going to be gone? I mean, if you shut the program down, that's like.
I mean, they should be. They should be. I would imagine so. If you're going to shut it down, I mean, regardless if they didn't shut it down, people knowing that all that is going down, then they need to be let go. I think the shooting and with all that getting stopped on their bus and everything like that, I think that enough. Probably they're going to get the boot from that. Yeah. But that just put the icing on the cake.
Yeah. And then Ani, just one quick question, because you talk to coaches and you know the landscape a bit, and we'll move on because we don't have all the details yet, and we'll probably talk about this as we get closer to the NCAA tournament or whatnot and talk a little bit more about college basketball. But do you think like do you think there's programs teetering like this where there's factions of players, a lot of hazing, especially now in the NIL era? Hey, I don't like that guy. He's weak. He ain't a good player, but he's making $80,000 and I'm making $20,000. Do you think that is a fact, or do you think, hey, it's just an isolated incident and it's an unfortunate incident, but we can't treat it like college basketball's falling on, like turning itself over? Like there's, what do you think there?
Yeah, I don't think hazing's really going on that much in these programs. Now, to your point, there are players that they're knowing other people how much the other players how much they're making, and let's say you got the fourth leading scorer making 80 and your top leading scorer is making 50, like that creates division. I've heard of that, but those fires have me being put out in locker rooms.
Those are fires for sure.
But no, not like hate, not like physical, just hazing like that. I'm not hearing that or seeing that as much in these programs. I think it's more isolated, but you are seeing NIL generating division in locker rooms.
Definitely. That's a problem. And I kind of thought that at the beginning of NIL, like, hey, I'm the 11th man on the team. I'm super popular. I have a YouTube page or something, and I make money, and the 2 or 3 best players don't. They're young men. They're impressionable. They want to have money in their pocket. So I definitely see that. And that's something that has to be addressed going forward. Or how do you address it? I did see something where Shannon Terry, who's the person who created Rivals, and he created 247, and he sold those and started On3. They follow NIL all the time, and they're mentioning that the collectives are not basically collecting as much money or having a big pool as much money as they originally thought. Now that I'm not surprised at all. Like,
right.
The period of NIL is going to be over soon. Like, maybe they thought they were going to have an $8 million budget in that collective, and now they're finding out they're going to have $3 or $4 million. Like, I'm not surprised about that at all. Chelsea, do you think like these numbers thrown around real quick are just going to kind of level off like the housing market and stuff? Or do you think like, hey, if a guy's quarterbacks or these gymnasts or somebody that's just a great endorser might be able to get really big and generate really big money?
I think as a whole, it'll probably level off, but it honestly just kind of depends on who you are and what school you go to. That's pretty much how NIL works in general, just how much, money the school is generating and how much they're able to, generate from boosters or whatever to pay these kids. So I think as a whole, a lot of these numbers that I've heard, I remember, I think the kid from Florida, like he had some ridiculous $1 million, like I think definitely it's inflated. I think some of the numbers are not always accurate, but I don't see it stopping though. I mean, these kids are going to get paid.
Yeah, definitely. I think the quarterback who decommitted, like you said, he had an $8 million contract. Like, come on. It's also like the contract was in quote unquote rescinded, but he didn't sue. So what was the contract originally? Like, it was just like a gentleman's agreement. Yeah, you're right. Some of these numbers are not making sense, but I guess more and more, again, kind of like Jason Powell said last week from the Clippers as he was talking about NBA players and how they approach the game. More and more data will come out, and we'll have more and more accurate, like what it means. Right now, I don't believe we have any really good accurate data. So there's not too much to say other than what we know about it. So we'll just keep moving on here. Let's talk about the Super Bowl. Chelsea, did you get a chance to visit? Was it the middle of the night? And Ani, what did you think? I know, Chelsea, you probably saw the halftime show. So what did you think of the game and all that?
Well, the Super Bowl is airing at 1:30 in the morning here in Israel.
Got it.
So of course I set my alarm for 3, and I ended up watching the last 5 minutes of the second quarter and the halftime show, the Rihanna Bowl, the true show. Then the first 5 minutes of the third quarter. So I didn't see much of the game. I did bet on the game, however, and I took the Chiefs because I just feel like I can't go against Pat Mahomes. He's been there before, MVP, Super Bowl already. So I'm a big fan of Jalen Hurts. I think he's had an incredible season, but I just went with experience. I feel like experience gets it done on the big stage. And, I put a little money on the Chiefs, and I came out on top. So it was a good day.
Yeah. Ani, what you think?
I got to watch it. The halftime show was straight. It was solid. Like, Rihanna was solid. But the game itself, I thought it was fun. Like, I thought the Eagles really just kind of messed themselves up. The fumbles, return touchdowns, some errors that they made. I know people talk about the holding call at the end, right? But they did some stuff I thought the mistakes they made early put them in the situation that they were in late in the game. Pat Mahomes, he's from East Texas, where I'm from, so I was pulling from him for him, and I remember him growing up. Like, people don't realize Pat Mahomes was a beast basketball player and baseball player, as well. But no, I just thought the game was good. I thought Eagles had KC, especially towards the end of the second quarter when Pat was hobbling off. And I didn't know what that would look like, but he beat the Eagles with one leg, basically. But no, I thought the game was good. I thought, people talk about the holding call, but I look at the Eagles' mistakes in the first half, and I thought that kind of, even the third quarter, where I thought, they had a chance to really run away with it, but they didn't.
Definitely, yeah. They gave up. They didn't really stop them in the second half,
right?
Defensively, meaning the Eagles. So I agree with you. Like you said, Pat Mahomes is at 70%. He's probably still like a top 2 or 3 quarterback in the league. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
Like at 70%, 60%, he's still really good. Man, he's super talented, like you said. And like you said, it's good for people to keep pushing the narrative of play multiple sports in high school, play them as long as you can. You don't get burned out. It's good, a good athlete, you know what I mean? Or great athlete, I should say, not just good. He's obviously a terrific athlete. And it's like that narrative, I hope, keeps staying alive. And it seems like it is. Like you read about all these guys, or Josh Allen is like a great small school, football, basketball, baseball player. Like, so that's always awesome to see. And people don't talk about, like, we talk a lot about fathers who get attention, right? Like Lamar Ball or John Morant's dad, but like Pat Mahomes' dad played in the MLB. Like,
right.
People, they should mention that once or twice. Like, don't just say he's a dad and walking around with a cigar. Like, dude played in the MLB. Like, he should get a little more. That should be mentioned. You know, I think.
Right, and a successful career.
Yeah, like a successful pro career. And then like Ani, I mean, real quick on Pat, like, where is he going from here? Again, you can't predict the future. Football changes fast, but like 2 Super Bowls already. He's a young guy. He's healthy, relatively healthy. He's 27 years old. I mean, is the sky the limit, or is just football too unpredictable?
I think football's too unpredictable. I think that football's shown that time and time again. Now, if I had to make a prediction, like, I think you'll put him as in one of the GOAT categories with Tom Brady when it's all said and done.
Sure.
But I mean, it's just so unpredictable. I mean, God forbid, but like a serious injury here, can't get back going. I mean, we've seen that with so many guys that just injuries have really kind of derailed where they were projected to go. So I just think football's unpredictable, but I hope, he can just keep going. And I think at this rate, he would be in the conversation as the greatest of all time.
Wow. Yeah. That's awesome. I mean, if he can, like you said, quarterbacks are playing longer. They're not getting hit as much.
Mm-hmm.
The game has changed. It's an offensive game. It's a wide open game. So, that would be awesome for him. And isn't Jalen Hurts from Texas as well? Yes,
mm-hmm.
I think so. Yeah, that should have been talked about a little bit more. Then
we produce pros.
I know. Geez, that's you guys do. And like we talked about, that's changed. Ani, I think you wrote a story about that, mentioning like what Greg Kite took to be able to play in camps and big camps in the 70s and 80s. Players weren't playing that before. And then also the passing leagues. We kind of like got that real big in California because, again, it's sunny all the time. The weather's great, right? We did passing leagues for so long. We've done passing leagues for the last 50 years. And like you said, where Texas had spring football, right? So they got in pads. And it's like, let's run that ball. I could just see old Texas girls like, let's run that ball. Like, because they're playing spring football with pads. Like, we'd never do that in California. And I'm not sure what other states do that. But for many years, that was always like the joke, Ani, that like spring football was the second biggest sport in Texas. So like we talked about in previous pods, like guys got overlooked. They didn't get the national acclaim. But like, that has totally changed. And then the producing of the quarterbacks has totally changed. So 1 year, I was just saying with the NFL, it's, I think 2 or 3 less teams. I know you like to talk about Texas, and I'll just tell you what that meant, the numbers of where we were. But in 1986, of the 27 teams, 13 of them were starting from California. You said because the kids grew up passing the ball. Right, you can't be in the NFL throwing the ball if you're just running, 90% of the time. As I believe, when I was a kid, that's what Texas teams did. The colleges they ran the wishbone, but like the game has totally changed in 30 years. And like nobody's even running the option anymore. Like who's running the option right now, Ani? Is anybody running the option? Maybe like a spread option offense.
Yeah, that spread option. I know those military programs were still kind of doing that a little
military
bit.
Programs. Yeah, I mean, God, that was a great time in college football. I'm getting off the subject a little bit, but yeah.
No, it was a good time.
Yeah, it was awesome. It was awesome watching those guys growing up. But congrats to the Chiefs, and we'll see how they keep it going. Chelsea, let's jump over to girls and women's basketball. Big game this past week. Tell us a little bit about, South Carolina and LSU and what went down.
Yeah, and women's college basketball, same Sunday as the Super Bowl, just a couple hours before. Number 3 LSU was facing off with number 1 South Carolina. They both came in at the time undefeated. I think LSU 23-0, South Carolina 24-0. And, it was a highly anticipated game. A game I was looking forward to because a lot of the major players, talk trash. It gets a little spicy out there, and that's what I'm all about. So, I was very much looking forward to it. So I watched the whole game, and it was just way too much South Carolina. LSU has been criticized pretty much all season for their weak schedule. They haven't really had many top 10 or top 25 battles at all. Kind of how they moved up to the ranks was just the fact that they were just undefeated. So this was honestly their first true test of just playing, a contending team, obviously the defending national champions. And South Carolina was just honestly too much to handle. When you watch them play, South Carolina is like a WNBA team. Their front line is 6'7" Cardoza, 6'5" Aaliyah Boston. Their team is just huge. They're pressuring all game. Athletes on the wings, they have depth. So people are just coming off the bench and contributing. And I think just, it's kind of South Carolina and everybody else at this point. The game was relatively competitive till halftime. But after that, South Carolina ran away with it. I believe they ended up winning something like 20 points. So I think just kind of what we're seeing now in women's college basketball, this is the era of Dawn Staley. UConn had their run. Tennessee had their run. We've seen these type of runs before. And I think that South Carolina is just making it known that they're here to stay. A lot of projected WNBA draft picks on that roster, starting with this year. Probably the number 1 pick will be Aaliyah Boston in the post.
Sure.
And they're just dominant. So I look forward to seeing if they repeat. I think they have a very strong chance. But, the greatness of, the NCAA tournament is that it's just one game. Right. So, maybe somebody could catch them slipping one day and, end up winning. But they are definitely built to last and here to stay. So if they don't repeat this year, they're still going to be held for a couple years to come. That's for sure.
Chelsea, you make sense like LSU not getting a lot of top 25 wins or just games. You could tell just with the speed of the game. I thought South Carolina was just playing at a whole nother speed than LSU. And then, I'm going to ask this question because I remember, Ronnie, like the Charlotte Bobcats back in the day, how bad they were. They were like, could Kentucky beat the Charlotte Bobcats? So, like, Chels, like, to your question, like, the worst team in the WNBA, could South Carolina beat the worst team in the WNBA?
Oh, hell no. No, not at all. I hate when people say that. Like, at the end of the day, Indiana Fever at this point is the worst team in the WNBA. If I have to pick one based off of last season and record-wise. And it wouldn't even be close. Yeah. Like, no, they have WNBA talent. They have girls that are 100% going to help WNBA teams next year. But you put their team versus the WNBA team, it's over. And especially because South Carolina's main weakness is shooting. A lot of the teams are ultra sagging in the paint, bringing, triple and double teams to Aaliyah Boston, who's their most dominant player. So if they had to go up against a WNBA team, it would get bad for them. So to answer your question, absolutely not. They cannot.
Good enough.
Yeah, that was the question I was going to follow up on, Chelsea, is like, if they're so dominant inside the interior and Ani says they got the speed, like what is their weak? Like, how is the team going to beat them? How would you game plan to beat them? How are you going to beat them? How is the team going to beat them in a 1-game setting?
Well, if you're going to beat South Carolina, you have to have size, one, because they're just big. Like the problem is I think they put up some statistics during the game. Like South Carolina rebounds like 50% of their misses. And it's a lot of misses because they don't have a whole bunch of pure shooters on the basket. They have some very, very talented players, but their biggest weakness is shooting from the outside. And that's why everybody is able to crowd the paint on Aaliyah Boston. But it says that when they're missing those shots, Aaliyah Boston, 6'6", she's getting the rebound, putting it back up. She's very efficient, and she's over, 50% from the field. Sure. Then you have 6'7" Cardoza, who comes off the bench. She's coming off the bench. So, it's just too big and too much size. To me, if you're going to beat them, like teams that have played them close, like UConn, for example, they have size, but you have to have shooting. You have to be able to kind of pull those girls out, and you have to make shots. Otherwise, they're just going to punish you because they're big and they're coming at you fast and 94 feet the whole game. Don likes a really up-tempo, style of play, and I just think a lot of teams can't match that.
Wow. That sounds like it's going to take a real terrific effort to beat them. And like you said, 60% shooting from the three or something crazy, on 25 shots or 20 shots. Like somebody's going to have to get hot. All right, we'll come back to that, but it sounds like they have a chance to run the tables. And obviously we'll come back to that. And Chelsea, I think are on our show on March 7th, you'll give a preview of the WNBA. So we'll talk about these topics, and we'll hit a little bit about the women's tournament on that day as well. So again, we appreciate everybody tuning in. Again, we're on episode 154. We kind of have a lot of cool episodes coming up. We're going to talk about the NCAA tournament. We're going to talk about the WNBA kind of kicking off March Madness. We're going to kind of get, if this is Chelsea's last season, we're going to kind of talk about, being a professional athlete in her last season, and maybe get some of her teammates to talk about what that's like and what's that like being overseas, again, where they're from and how the team was created. So we appreciate you guys. Again, if you listen to this, we have like about 100 episodes on audio. You can find them on iTunes or Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts, and obviously our YouTube page. Please share the YouTube page, like it, share it, tell your friends about it. We're always trying to grow it. So thank you guys for tuning in. Just wanted to throw that out there before we continue. Ani, any college updates on the men's side that besides obviously the crazy New Mexico State thing that's catching your eye as we're getting closer in second round of league games? Seems like Duke is struggling. The Tobacco Road is struggling.
Yeah.
What happened in North Carolina this year? They had a lot of guys back. What do you see?
Yeah, it just seems like they're just not gelling. I mean, they're taking the guards are taking a lot of bad shots. I think shot selection is not good. I thought Armando Bacot, I don't think he was in shape in the beginning of the season. Just didn't look like himself. I'm not even gonna lie to you. Now he's playing, but it just, North Carolina, they are playing more like individuals than they are as a team. I just didn't, especially your backcourt returning, but because you thought like, okay, they're going to run through, but they're really, really struggling, just having lapses on defense. I don't know. Just it's not as much of a flow as they had last year. And Duke struggling. They're young. Flipikowski's had to really carry a lot. I think Roach just he came back like a couple weeks ago, and that kind of helped him some. But they just play like a team full of a lot of freshmen, a lot of young guys. And then hopefully they just start peaking in the second half and going to the ACC tournament. Yeah. You got U of H. I think they'll be. I don't know if they were named number one, but I mean they should be named number one after this week. So, U of H it'll be interesting seeing how they do in the tournament. They got the guard play. They got size to play defense. I don't think there's a clear cut who's going to win a national title this year. Like you saw Purdue, they lost to Northwestern, which was interesting. Big Ten play's been wild. Big 12 is loaded. Teams like Texas Tech, they beat K-State, right? Like Kansas, who's a top 7-8 team, had lost 3 games in a row in the Big 12. I mean, just the Big 12 has just been, I think, they've been the best league this year. And I just think when you go into the tournament, to the national game, what that's going to look like, that's a toss-up. I think this is, Ronnie, Chelsea as well, we just seen it with the NCAA tournament. It's one game, right? So, what the Sweet 16, Elite 8, and the Final Four this year, I think it could look a lot different than the most recent years.
Yeah, definitely. It's, like you said, a little wide open. We'll see who gels. Ani, I want to ask you a question to follow up on that. As we talk about teams gelling and maybe a lot of new teams, you got guys from the portal. I just remember seeing, like, if a team was great, they kind of were locked in the whole season.
Right.
Are we getting to the point in college basketball just because maybe the combination of youth and the combination of transfers were like teams are more geared like, hey guys, if we drop this game, it's okay. We want to just be ready for the conference tournament and the NCAA tournament. And like, I kind of take that to like Steve Lavin at UCLA. People were always wanting his head, wanting him to be really let go. Like they need to replace him. And then UCLA would just peak at the right time and make a tournament run. And like, honestly, it saved his job like 3 or 4 seasons.
Right.
You know, like, because they peak and just make a nice tournament run. Is that kind of where we're at in college basketball, where like these kids are not locked in 30 games? It's more like, hey guys, let's get ready for March.
Well, I talked to a coach, and one thing, I won't say the name of the school, but
sure, he
said, I hate when we're number one in the country. He said, because now I have to get our kids to focus and play. They get so caught up. Obviously, there's a lot of perks of being number one in the country or being top 5, but getting those kids to lock in and play and delete all of the distractions is the hardest thing. And I also talked to coaches where they say, you know, they had to break it up in seasons within their season, right? And I think where they value most is peaking, like Coach Lavin, like peaking at the right time in conference and going to the conference tournament. And I think we're seeing more of that. Obviously, you want those quad 1 wins in the non-conference, especially if you're not like in a Power 5 level, you know, a school. But I think that like non-conference, you're really trying to win those quad 1 games, and then you're just trying to peak towards, you know, around this time into conference and into the tournament. You want to get good seeding into your conference tournament, stuff like that, so you get to the NCAA tournament. But I think it's different for levels. Like I think these mid-majors that could have a chance to get at-large bid, you know, they want to have a really strong non-conference. And, you know, I think they play more consistent. They're more throughout. But I think these big schools, these high majors, I think they break it down more into seasons than like lower level.
Seasons, correct. That's kind of what I see, because I think people over the last 10 years have been like, oh, look at how good that Gonzaga team is. And they're like, yeah, they're not going to win 6 in a row. You know, we're already getting to that. Like, they're not going to win 6 in a row. So it looks nice. Whereas before, maybe 20, 30 years ago, when the best teams were all returners, right? Like they were all guys who were on the team last year. It's like they were locked in from day one because they knew the goal was to win the national title, kind of like a Michigan State with Mateen Cleaves, that kind of get, you know, Joaquin Noah and that group. They were like locked in from the beginning, you know.
Right.
But now it's like you have a national champion who's coming back with a lot of players, and they're kind of willing. I would just think they're going to turn it on. Oh, you would assume they're going to turn it on as the season closes. So, you know, we'll watch that. We'll have our March Madness preview on March 14th around that date. So again, we appreciate you guys tuning into our episodes. Let's just keep moving forward. Jump into our main topics. Our main 2 topics would be NBA trades and our GOATs. You know, what's your first take, Chelsea, just on the trades? Like, I mean, people were like, oh, that's overshadowing the Super Bowl. These trades are nuts. And I'm just like, well, hold on. I don't know if it's that big. Like, I mean, KD getting traded to the Suns is big news. That is big news. But like, everybody's like, this is like, where's the Super Bowl? I thought we had a Super Bowl Sunday. And it's like, it's just people that into like the NBA that much, the drama of it and all the off the court, Chelsea, or do you think it's just overstated that only a few like trades really, really are going to make the difference on a championship run?
I mean, there's only realistically a couple of trades that I felt have really moved the needle. And you already said it. I mean, KD to Phoenix. I mean, I think that easily, you know, he's still 3 years under contract. I think that easily puts them as the favorite in the West, because they were able to acquire him without getting rid of their other big 3, I guess you can say, with Ayton, who doesn't really want to be there, but maybe his mind will change now. Chris Paul and Devin Booker. So Devin Booker's coming back from his groin or his hamstring injury. And then you had a KD who was out for a little bit too, but a healthy KD is arguably the best player in the league. So I think that definitely puts them over the top. And you know, even though I'm a Laker fan, like I'd love to see Chris Paul get one. And this is his last chance. Okay. If he's not getting it right now with this team, then I don't know what to say, but this is his last chance. And I think that was the marquee trade basically before the deadline. I also liked, you know, kind of what we talked about a little bit, just Kyrie to Dallas. I don't really think that this is my short-term trade that I liked, because I don't really, I say short term because Kyrie is such a question mark. I mean, at the end of this year, is he going to stay? Is he going to go? The media has already been poking at him a little bit, kind of asking him about his future with the Mavs, and he doesn't even want to talk about it. So from that standpoint, I just feel like him and the combination of Luka is a lot of offensive firepower. And I think that maybe they can, get past, maybe get to the Western Conference Finals if they can get rolling. I do think that they need another piece, but I do think that that was a great addition. And lastly, I'm going to just, throw my Lakers out there because, that's just what we do. We got rid of Russ, which makes me sad because, I am a Russ fan, even though it was not a great fit for him. With the Lakers, but I do like their acquisitions. I feel like they checked a couple boxes. I can't say that this makes them a championship team, but acquiring D'Angelo Russell, Beasley, Vanderbilt, they got a point guard who can score and probably a little more efficiently than Russell Westbrook. They checked that box of shooting with Malik Beasley. Is an exceptional 3-point shooter, and then they got some athleticism on the wing, defender in Vanderbilt. So. I like the moves that we made. I don't really know if that helps the Lakers besides maybe just potentially getting them out of the play-in and maybe, them climbing in there at a low seed. But I think that they can do some things once they get Bron back.
Gotcha.
Yeah. When we talk about like short and long term, obviously the short term trades that I think have immediate impact from Kyrie to Dallas, obviously, like now even though they lost 2 straight with Luka and Kyrie on the floor, and I got to see both those games, I just think they're just trying to figure out how to gel with each other, and that's more of a defensive issue. Like they're scoring fantastically, they just can't stop nobody, right? But they're a lot better, and I think with Maxi Kleber coming back, and they just signed Justin Holiday from a buyout. Phoenix, I mean, Slody, you talk about like a big forward type with Devin Booker, KD. Aiden, Chris Paul, you got that. They just signed Terrence Ross. I think Phoenix is short term, that propels them, to have a chance to win a title. When I was interested in these long terms, like LA, obviously, like that's another short term with Jared Vanderbilt, D'Angelo Russell, Malik Beasley, to add with LeBron. I think Vanderbilt's a real underrated pickup there, but. Utah receiving draft picks, right? Obviously, Russell, what they're going to do with Russell, even regards they keep him, he's on an expiring deal. So you got cap space and you got draft picks. That's for me long term. What does Utah do with their core guys, right? What does Brooklyn do with their core guys? When you talk long term, with all those draft picks that they collected, that to me when I look long term. I want to see how that goes, right? How do they draft? How do they use those to maybe get maybe they try to get a superstar via trade down the road or something like that. So I think those have more of an impact long term. But I think the West, looking at the trade deadline, the West is stronger than ever. I think even many deals like Warriors getting Sadiq Bey, like a big, strong wing that can score. Obviously, I got to see what happens with Steph, but, I think he'll play in the playoffs. We've got Hart. What's my man that Philadelphia picked up? McDaniels. I think that's a big time pick. Another 3-and-D type guy with size that can really defend and can make open shots. Eric Gordon and Mason Plumlee going to the Clippers. That bolsters their depth out there, even though Clippers need a guard. But I just thought I was very interested in the small trades. I was interested in the teams that really just try to collect assets. Right, that knew they couldn't win, but I think teams like LA and Dallas and Phoenix, I feel like they won in the short term because they are trying to win a title now, right? And I was also kind of wondering why some teams didn't make a move that kind of like on this mediocrity trail, right? Like that are at 500, aren't very good, and didn't make a move to either side. Either I'm just going to be bad or I'm going to really contend. I thought. There's some teams like in the middle of the road, like 7-8 seed that really should have made more of a push, just to figure out what they're gonna do. So that's just kind of my thoughts.
Yeah. So Ani, back to you. Which one of those short-term trades was you thought was the best one? You mentioned you hit on a lot on which one besides throw out KD, which one was the best short-term one that you saw?
I just think LA's because they picked up shooting and more defense and more versatility, which they needed. I think they needed a talent uptick more than anybody, right?
Based on this thing, yes.
And you don't have a lot of time because you have LeBron, you have AD. Like, they're not getting any younger, right? AD can't stay healthy. So, like, for me, it's like you have to you have to get most of that roster. I would say LA one, I say Dallas two, because Dallas, you don't want to lose Luka. So you needed to get Kyrie, and you need to contend now. So you don't want Luka asking for a trade. So I say LA and Dallas, because they really need to go try to win right now.
Yeah, that makes sense. And to be clear, Chelsea, what short-term trade or trade you term short-term is you thought was the best one?
Yeah, I picked LA. And that's my team, and we needed something, like Ani said. So I'm glad they made a move. But I am sad for Russ because, it wasn't his fault. The situation was very unfortunate. And I think a lot of just kids can take a page out of Russell's book in the professionalism. Like, I felt like he's in a terrible situation that wasn't really a great fit. He accepted a role off the bench. He was still trying to show up every day, play, be professional. And that's really all that you can ask. And in doing so, he's getting, tons of criticism every day from just everybody within the organization, outside of the organization. So, I'm looking forward to him, just jumping on a team where he can be more of himself. And I want people to not forget that he's first ballot Hall of Fame and former MVP. And you cannot, just minimalize his career to these last several kind of flurry of a year where he's bounced around in different teams and stuff like that. Like, he's still one of the all-time greats, and he's on the top 75 list. So, I was kind of sad to see him go, but I'm hopeful that the Lakers can, make something of it, at least make it worth it since you got rid of him.
Yeah, I think Russ played better coming off the bench. I think that's really more so what he is I think if Russ can just kind of buy into being, for me, when I watched him play, obviously the LA fit was horrible, but I thought he tried to do too much on the court. And I think wherever he goes next, if he just kind of plays more to his strengths and not as wild, I think he can, really finish out his career well and put him in a situation. They have a buyout, and I'm hearing Clippers may get him. Like, he doesn't need to try to play to the level of PG and Kawhi. You know what I mean? Like, you don't have to do that. You have pieces. Just play your role, make shots, use your speed, and get them the ball. If he does that, then he'll be great. But I just didn't really like how Russell has been playing the past couple of years. I think he's just sloppy.
Oh yeah, something wasn't completely right. Again, it's tough. Chelsea, in your estimation, in your experience, like, have you run across any of your, either a girl you would know or somebody in the W who maybe is out of the W now because she just couldn't adjust her game to being like taking a lesser role? Is there anything like that, or do you think it's a little different on the girl side? There's less teams, and is there any parallel there, like to a star who has to adjust her game, and some do and some struggle and some do?
I mean, I think there's no name that I can just think off the top of my head, but I mean, everybody has to make adjustments. As you go out in your career, you're not going to maintain being the same player, throughout your entire tenure. But I just feel with players like Russ, who are ball dominant and want to play with pace, like, it's really kind of hard to just change who you are. Like, Ani talked about, him tapping into just kind of focusing on his strengths. But Ani, what are his strengths to you without having the ball and playing fast? Like,
I think going downhill and putting pressure on the defense, but instead of taking wild shots, like, pass it. Like, you already getting you're getting 2 or 3 to commit to you. Like, why are you taking the shot? Just pass. Like, I think that's a strength of his. Like, I don't think him taking a bunch of pull-up jumpers is his strength anymore. Like, it kind of wasn't in OKC, and it really wasn't. He was just so athletic, but I think him going downhill is what makes him good. I don't think him taking a bunch of shots is what makes it. Like, that's not him now.
Yeah. I can see that, but like, especially when the game slows down, like in the playoffs, ain't nobody gonna just let Russ run downhill all game. Like, so he's gonna have to play in the half court, and just as an NBA player, he's gonna have to make open shots. And to his fault, he hasn't made them. So you're not wrong about that. But I just feel like for him, it's more style of play. And I feel like he can still help a team, maybe not so much a contender because he will maybe struggle with that, having to follow into a role. But I think he still has a lot left in the tank. And I really just hate that, like, people are just acting like he sucks so bad. And that just bothers me because it's like he's still done things that 95% of the NBA players not many people are going to be 2-time MVPs, Ani. They're not going to average a triple-double for 4 seasons. And he's the one who made the triple-double watered down because he started doing it so much and everybody hates him so much that they say, it's just a triple-double.
Right.
Yeah, well, we're going to get into that a little bit, talk about like career measurables and numbers like that. I think there's a certain player that's kind of got hurt by that talk, Chelsea, and we'll talk about them when we talk about our top 5 guys of all time. But yeah, I mean, we're talking a lot about Russell Westbrook. I just don't think he's a maker at this point in time. Like, doesn't matter which team he goes to. Like, we hope he does well, but like, I mean, for the Lakers to get off him, I mean, it's almost like it was a move that had to be made.
Right.
I mean, their whole energy and their whole makeup going into that break and into that scoring record, like, boy, that was bad. I was talking to some people, like, just in a bar, casuals, and they were like, man, this team, what is wrong with this team? They had the Lakers problem to me. Now, hopefully they'll get it. They don't have no identity. They had no identity. Are they trying to get the ball inside? Are they a 3-point shooting team? They were just 5 guys out there playing. And hopefully that'll change with, like you said, with Vanderbilt and some of the moves they made. For me, I was a little question. I guess speaking winners and losers, obviously Suns would be the winner. I would think most of us would agree with that, especially if you're trying to chase an NBA title, which is the ultimate goal. But I don't understand the Bulls. The Bulls are the only team that hasn't released anybody, hasn't signed anybody, hasn't made a trade. I think, Ani, you were kind of referencing them a little bit like earlier when you're saying the team that's in the middle ground, that's not a front-running NBA title team, but it's not a doldrum lottery team. Like, what are you doing? Do they just think it could work out? I've heard that they were, Kobe White might be a name that may be one of the moves. Obviously, people talk about Zach LaVine. Ani, you just think, are you a little surprised and make no move, or is like they still got a good roster, but they don't have a A1 Suns roster? So, what's the thought there?
Yeah, I was surprised they didn't make a move. I mean, you talk about guys like Vucevic, who's not getting any younger. I mean, not that old, but like you got guys that are getting older, like DeRozan, LaVine, Vucevic. What are you doing with those 3, right? Like, if you don't think you can win with them, then I would have made some moves. Or if you felt like you could win with them, then bolster your roster. I just never really understood, especially when you get a deadline, you got a team, and we've seen it every year of like kind of on like you got guys that are like in their prime or getting a little bit past their prime, and you got like 2 or 3 of them. I think as an organization, you got to figure out what you're going to do. Like, what are you trying to do? Are you trying to win with them? Do you think you can win with them? If so, what do you get? If you don't think you can win with them, then why are we keeping them? Because the trade value just decreasing. So Chicago is one of the main ones. I just thought I was kind of confused. Portland was another one. I was just, it was like, what are we doing with Dame? With Jeremy Grant? Like, you're not winning with this group, right? So, I know they made the trade for Gary Payton, and that stuff's all over the place right now. But those type of teams, I just try to figure out like what's the goal. Like, you're not going to get any better. You are what you are.
Correct. Especially since a few teams did get better. Chelsea, are you kind of thinking along the lines too with that with the Heat? Like the Heat, they were in the bubble. They went to the finals. They looked like they had a good squad, and then they're kind of aging. They didn't really make no moves. Are they in that position, or they're not in Chicago's position? Then obviously in the East, you got Milwaukee and Boston still kind of like up there as the favorites.
Well, with the Heat, like I just feel like knowing Pat Riley and how they operate over there, that they're going to take advantage of the buyout market coming up here. I actually heard that Russ, was an option for them. But just speaking of the Bulls, like I didn't hear of the Bulls even making anybody available. Your team sucks. Like I didn't hear they need to be in the mix. I understand if you don't actually make a trade, but if you want to tell people that you just like care, can you just like get in on some negotiations? I heard absolutely nothing about the Bulls, being totally honest. Miami, at least I've heard some rumblings of, players that they might acquire, and they 100% need a boost. I think even the culture there is a little bit down. Like, Miami is all about scrappy and we're Miami and we play really hard and stuff. And I'm not even seeing that like in in kind of what they're doing over there. And Boston is a well-oiled machine. Milwaukee is going to be right there. So if they want to contend with those teams, then they definitely needed to do something. But I look forward to seeing what Miami's going to do with buyouts here pretty soon. And speaking of Portland, Dame has to get out of there. I'm sorry. Like, you're building around Dame. You're saying that you're going to build around him. Like, they did a couple trades. I mean, or a couple acquisitions in which they got Cam Reddish, but they didn't get anybody that moves the needle, and they didn't get anybody that helps Portland or helps Dame, in the grand scheme of things, make them any better in a more competitive West.
Right.
So, I really respect Dame's loyalty, and all that's great. But I really hope that he doesn't finish his career like Charles Barkley, just ringless because, I'm just playing, and you need to just get out of there. And he can come to the Lakers when he starts.
That's what you wanted to say. Hey.
Have to get him, the Lakers.
Chelsea, LA can't get everybody.
Yeah.
Okay, well, who can we get? Okay, we need somebody. Bron needs help.
Y'all can win.
Yeah, well, that's what I kind of gather. Unless they turn it around here, like you said, maybe win 8 out of 10. The Lakers have said, well, we'll see. I'm not sure how much better they got. You guys like the moves. I'm not as that high on the moves. They're good moves. They've made an upgrade, but to where that gets them, I don't know. You know what I mean? Like maybe a little bit better. They are a little bit younger, a little bit better. They can't get any worse. I mean, they can't get any worse.
But I want to see the complete roster. Where's LeBron? He's, Super Bowl weekend having a blast the last couple of days. Get back there with our team and get going. Okay. I want to see the complete roster. And I want to see Anthony Davis be the person we thought he was going to be. That's really the Lakers' problem. People wanted to blame Russ. And I'm not even blaming Anthony Davis because people get hurt. Injuries are injuries. But I do think that the vision for the Lakers was for Anthony Davis to be that guy. And he hasn't done that. And that's why we're struggling, in my opinion.
He can't be the guy because he's always hurt.
Correct. So it's not his fault, but I'm sure that was the vision of the organization, not to have 38-year-old LeBron have to run around and do everything and take a whole bunch of plays off on defense.
I think LeBron liked doing that, though. Like, I think that's LeBron liked doing that type of stuff, though.
Yeah, you can like it.
So that's kind of my point, because you two are all over the place right now, but like that's my point. The Lakers don't have an identity. Are they a tough inside team? Are they a perimeter team? They're just 5 guys out there. Maybe AD's playing, maybe he's not. Maybe LeBron's chilling kind of on cruise control. We talked about that last week a lot about saving yourself. I don't know exactly what they're trying to do.
I think the roster on paper is good enough to make a run. Okay. I think the roster on paper is good enough. Now, what the hell they do with that, I don't know. But I think you have enough talent to at least, you may think I'm crazy, the talent itself can get you to the conference finals if you click, if everybody clicks. I really do believe that. Like, I think they finally have some shooting. They got the size, they got the star power, they got all that. They got deep, they got some versatility on the defensive end. Now, if they can gel with that's to be seen. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know about that, but I thought it was a roster upgrade enough where if you're saying I'm trying to make a run, okay, this roster on paper can do that. Now it's all up to them to do it. I doubt they can, but it's not a lack of talent. I don't think they're missing anything from a talent perspective. I just think they got to figure it out.
Yeah, they got to figure it out and how much they really want it. They say they want it, the fan. But I mean, they're not giving the effort as if they want it. You know what I mean? You have to be committed on a daily night. You got to play a little bit more defense, in my opinion, just a little bit more, fire there. So maybe they'll turn it up again. We talked about LeBron getting past that mark. A couple things. We'll circle back. Chelsea, what did you think of Rihanna's performance? Give it a grade. I want to hear your grade on Rihanna's Super Bowl performance. Then we'll talk a little bit about LeBron and Kareem.
I give it an A, and I'm not being biased because I do love Rihanna, but the woman is pregnant. The performance to me was her coming out and saying, hey, kiss another album goodbye. I'm pregnant. It's all about panties and makeup now. I'm blessing y'all one last time, and I'm out of here. That was my takeaway, and I very much enjoyed it. But people were saying, they're used to more lively performances, but I just don't really understand what they wanted a pregnant woman to do. So once she came out and her stomach was showing, it was very obvious. She played a lot of classics, in her discography. So I thought that was exceptional, and I thought it was entertaining. But I just feel like fans and sometimes people are just a little too critical and delusional. She's pregnant and she's on a platform, so she has to keep it steady and do the best she can. And I really enjoyed it. And like I said, that was the show for me. I woke up for that, so I thought she was great.
Ani, where you at, man? B plus? I know you're not gonna say A.
No, I ain't giving it A. I had it like a B minus, and then when I saw that she was pregnant, I was like, oh, okay, like B, and then B plus. Like I like the dance. I thought the dancing was fire. Like I was like, yo, like this is dope. But
yeah, pretty cool.
I thought the performance. I thought the performance was just okay. But knowing that she was pregnant, I was very impressed by that. I was like, okay, she's doing this while pregnant, so I'll give her a solid B plus. But I thought it was okay. Like I didn't think it was horrible, like some people were saying. I thought she did a good job. Like I think some of the people that are saying it was horrible really aren't Rihanna fans or don't really listen to her music, so they just couldn't get a feel for it. But I thought it was solid. I ain't gonna give it no A, but it was solid.
For sure, she has too many hits for it not to be pretty good. I'll give her a B plus. She did really well. Again, and we criticized. Another thing she did was more people watch the halftime show than watch the Super Bowl. So that's
there you go.
She is A top dog. Like she's huge. You know what I mean? Obviously, she's a billionaire in terms. She's done her thing in music. So shout out to Rihanna. Now let's talk about the Lakers. Now here's my thing with the Lakers and the half. The ceremony for the. I don't want to talk about the game because the Lakers were terrible. But it's you had your time, and we talk a lot about the W. We talk a lot about NBA players' activism, what they mean. I just think they didn't honor Kareem enough at all. I didn't say nothing about him. Maybe I'm missing. Maybe I'm too much of a Kareem fan. Maybe I'm blinded like you guys are with Russ. You guys are blinded with Russ a little bit. I'm blinded.
Nah.
Like, horrible. Yeah, like you know what I'm saying? I'm just like. I don't know. Maybe the guy's done so much. You talk about activism, like when he was involved with what he was involved at UCLA, missing the 1968 Olympics, like that was big. That he took a risk. Anybody can wear a Black Lives Matter shirt now, or make a sign and a logo, and they're not doing nothing. Like you're not. It's not risky. What he did was risky at 22 years old. Like I just thought that should have been talked about more. I don't know. What did you guys? Just what he did, and I don't think it was. I don't know. What did you guys take about the ceremony?
Yeah, I thought the buildup should have talked more about Kareem. I thought you heard more. Well, obviously Kareem wrote the article, right? And then you started hearing more about it afterwards. But I thought the buildup should have really had a career retrospective about Kareem. Like there's so much about his career that people don't talk about. There's so much about his upcoming that people don't talk about and how he got there. Like, Ronnie, you talked about how him and LeBron, there's parallels as far as high school guys that were labeled like the next ones, and they were that, right? Yeah. But I thought there should have been more of in the buildup, they should have talked more about Kareem. And his achievements and how he did it, and more of a breakdown on all that stuff. I've read it, so I knew, but like I wish that was more open to the public for them to really know Kareem. I don't think the general public really know like Kareem and how he got there and just the name change, like all that stuff. I really just wish they would have talked more about Kareem.
Yeah, I agree. Chelsea, what do you think?
No, I mean, I totally agree. He's done so many things, and like you guys said, I think a lot of people just don't know. And to have such a milestone even be broken, but for the previous record holder and what he did to get to that point, they could have kind of honored him and Bron, like not equally, but just like a passing of the torch more, where like you said, where they put a little bit more focus on Kareem and how he got to that point, and how he was the record holder for so many years before Bron was able to break it. So I think they didn't make it as big of a deal as they should have. I don't know if Kareem had anything to do with that. I was cracking up at like the tweets and stuff because they were just the camera. Every time LeBron scored like in the game, they just kept looking at Kareem.
Right.
He's got to like look it up. Like, okay, how many points away is he? So everybody was cracking jokes and stuff about it. But he definitely is one of the more underrated in terms of just the recognition that he deserves, just all across the board. just for what he was able to do in the league and what he was able to accomplish outside off the court as well.
Yeah, I just think at his age, you had that summit they had. Obviously, Dr. Harry Edwards was inviting athletes. You had Jim Brown there. He was at the end of his NFL career retired. He was about 35 years old, maybe. You had Bill Russell was toward on the back end of his career. Muhammad Ali was the world champion, the most recognizable athlete. And then you had this 22-year-old athlete. Like, how was he mature enough and how did he handle it? He's in college. Right at that time, people were boycotting, walking out of high schools, walking out of college campuses because of the Vietnam War. There was a lot of this war is bad for America. It was a really volatile time. Robert Kennedy got assassinated. Martin Luther King got assassinated. And here's Kareem, 22-year-old. He's involved in this. Like, let's hear a little bit about that.
Right.
Everybody's talking about what the girls of the W did in the bubble and what, like, this dude is the GOAT at that. Like, this dude is should be talked about. That's all I've heard the NBA talk about the last couple of years. And you didn't say nothing about what this man has accomplished or did. And then another thing, he's so articulate. Like you said, if you read what he said, he talks about, like, he's like, Magic, you were wrong.
Yeah.
I was going to be mad that Magic came on air. Magic loves to talk. He's like Shannon Sharp. Magic just talk. And it's like, maybe Kareem doesn't feel that. Magic kind of like the spokesperson for like a shitload of people in the NBA. And it's like, Kareem's like, no, I didn't feel that. And like you said, Chelsea, maybe he's just not that outgoing. But like he can articulate and he can get his thoughts out there. Like he had a little bit of a strained relationship with Shaq. He has really no relationship with LeBron. And he kind of even mentioned that on paper. He's like, it's probably my fault. I'm not that outgoing. I probably could have helped you handle some of the pressures you went through. Like, I thought Kareem's article was terrific. Like, him just being honest and saying some of his faults, and he's an older guy and he's like, I'm not worried about my record being passed. He's all, I'd give it all up if I could. He's all, I'd rather spend time with my grandkids. Like, I just thought Kareem's his whole maturity toward it. And he's always been like that. Like, I just thought that was really great. And I don't know what you guys thought about it, but I just thought the moment was great. I was happy for LeBron. And like I said, I just think he can be easily criticized. I think he's like the most criticized great athlete maybe ever. Like, and it's just like, it's easy to knock him, but besides him being at the Super Bowl getting booed, I think he did really well. You know what I mean? Like he's done really well. And just give shout out to Kareem. So yeah, I just thought that was a little bit of a miss. And especially since the game is not great. It's not like the OKC and the Lakers are two teams battling like best record in the league. Like, what was the significance of the games? Talk about Kareem. Like the game, especially the game wasn't going very good. So I just thought, like, did any moment stick out to you guys about the ceremony or did anything? What's going to be the most memorable thing? Chelsea, I'll start with you.
I think the most memorable thing is I know that they wanted to do it in that moment, but I didn't really think they need to stop the game. That's the most memorable thing. We're in the middle of a game and you're stopping the game to give an award. Like, to me, that's like just crazy. And I know we do that, but I don't know. Maybe like at least wait.
You thought that wasn't professional? Like you're for like Oklahoma City's like, what the hell? Or
I think it's just kind of like not fair. It's still a game that counts on the record, so maybe wait till, at least the end of the third quarter or, I don't know. I think that was the thing that stuck out to me. Like, oh, dang, they're stepping on the court and there's still time on the clock and nobody cares kind of thing. But, I just looked at LeBron's face and I saw the relief of him, just hitting the milestone. So I think to me, that's the most memorable thing. I like that his family did join him. They were able to take some pictures and kind of just take the moment in. But, Bron made that fadeaway shot, put his hands up in the air and kind of just like another weight off of his shoulder. Like you said, he's very polarized. He's very criticized. And, to reach these marks, even if he claims he wasn't chasing them or whatever, like he's always under a microscope. Sure. And even if it, wasn't of that much significance to him, which he said it wasn't, and maybe it became more significant as he got closer, but like, it's still a major accomplishment to be able to do these things. And I think, the pressure of just trying to uphold that standard, Ronnie, that you talked about, even though people are criticizing him, LeBron still, from the outside looking in, has done well. Like he's done everything he was supposed to do since he was a kid and exceeded expectations. So that's the thing to me. Just the moment of just him really embracing it and taking it all in.
Yeah. Ani, what is your most memorable moment? Just like highlighting like of that.
Yeah, just when he put his hands up, like basically, like after he made the shot, like Cho said, just a relief lift off his shoulder. You can just see how he was like, okay, finally, like I did it, right? And I know he's been missing time for all that, but you can tell that took a lot out of him. Like him pursuing it took a lot out of him. You can just tell from that moment where he had his hands up, and then him missing 3 games. so you could just tell it was a lot. That was the moment I just remember the most. It's just like, okay, I finally did it.
Yeah, I see that. It was a good moment overall. But yeah, you're right. The Lakers look like a tired team, a drained team. They look tired. They didn't have much in the tank. So on that note, congrats to LeBron and all his fans and everybody that's followed him. This has been a great run. And he's been healthy and available and a great player consistently. So we wanted to jump in and kind of go at each other a little bit, have fun, and talk about our greatest players of all time, especially in this moment. We kind of talked about longevity, but this doesn't have to be about longevity. We talked about that last week. Just be greatness, how you define it. And I guess we'll just go in order, and we'll just go from, we're going to say our top 5, and Ani, you'll start, and then we'll go to Chelsea, and then me, and then we'll go to our number 1 guy, and then we'll make our points. So Ani, at just kind of like counting down, who's your number 5 guy on your list of, the 5th? Who do you think is the 5th greatest player of all time?
I hate to say this because I'm a Mavs fan, but Tim Duncan is number 5, the greatest power forward of all time. Yes, he's boring. Yes, he made 90% of his shots hitting off the backboard, but 5 titles. Just the Spurs made it to the playoffs. I don't know, it was like 16 consecutive years or something like that. Tim Duncan was fantastic. He's the greatest power forward of all time. It's not even close. And I'm a huge Dirk fan, but Dirk has nothing on him. So he's number 5 for me.
Chelsea, who do you got at 5?
Number 5, I have the Kobe Bryant, RIP, Kobe Bean Bryant. A lot of people try to kind of discredit Kobe's greatness. And I think that you can make an argument that there is maybe more than 4 players that are better than him. But, I've learned to appreciate Kobe a lot more in his passing, which I hate to say it, but just to, kind of read books and just learn about different accounts that players had, playing against Kobe and what they thought of him, watching old tape and old film. And, I really just appreciate his will to win and his mentality over a lot of the players maybe on the list. Like, I just feel like you can't, exclude him because of his will to win. And if you're a player, and even if you're not, that's a guy that you would want on your team. So I got Kobe there at the 5 spot.
Great. My 5 spot would be tough. It's tough. Like you said, there's a lot of guys you could leave off or on. I would go with Larry Bird. I'll put him 5. I think, he could be, I thought maybe 6 or 5, but I just think in that range, like he did some things that other players didn't do. He did one thing that I'll kind of hold, we're arguing why he's on the list. But a main thing is he closed out games and in the big moments he stepped up, and close out games. He had 27, 13, and 5 to win the 81 title. And then he won game 7 against the Lakers in 84. That was maybe one of the biggest finals ever in terms of build-up and hype. And then he had a great closeout game against the Rockets, a triple-double in 86. So when he was counted on, he did it. Again, his longevity might be the thing that people might knock him on. And also, if you didn't see him play in the moment, you might think, well, yeah, he was, pretty good, maybe a little slow or something like that. Especially I could see a younger person saying that. But overall, he would be my number 5 guy. So Chelsea, Chelsea, what do you think about just like you said, let's talk about those 3 guys in general, like Duncan. Was Duncan near? I would assume he's not on your top 5. So again, does Kobe kind of knock out Duncan? And they're kind of contemporaries, and they both have 5 titles real quick, Chelsea, what do you think about that? And then Ani hit that about the 5 titles in the same era.
Well, maybe it's a little bit of my bias, just being a guard. You know, Kobe is somebody for me as a player that I can try to emulate at least. You know, Tim Duncan is playing with his back to the basket, very fundamentally sound. Like, I have nothing bad to say about Tim Duncan. Even him being boring, like if you're getting the job done, you're getting the job done. But just Kobe and just the swagger and the stuff that he was able to do, and him doing it from the guard position, like I just feel like, to me, it meant more, you know, and I don't really always even just talk about accolades, because, you know, there's a lot of people that have accolades that aren't on my list at all, you know, but it's just about, for me personally, how I feel when I'm watching somebody. And maybe that means nothing, but that's how basically I make my list. How does this person make me feel? What is this person doing? You know, that's the wow factor. And Kobe is on everybody's list if you make that the criteria. Not so much, you know, what accolades and championships and everything else, in my opinion. So, and then with Larry, I mean, he's incredible, and he's definitely on my list. And I could, you know, make a case that he could have been in my top 5. Like, you can easily make a case for a guy like that. But I can only pick 5, Ronnie. Okay, so I had to go with my people, and Kobe's it for me.
Yeah, Ani, what do you think about just the Duncan Kobe era and both of them having 5 titles and how that knocks one guy in or out or whatnot?
Yeah, it's you know, Chelsea makes a point about, you know, Kobe. When you talk about the wow factor, Kobe had it right. His story is obviously more interesting than Timmy's, but you know, we fail to talk about Timmy, like, on defense, especially in the interior. Like, he was really good as a rebounder and a rim protector, and he just did it. He was just so consistent for years. I mean, there was never, for Timmy, what I was more impressed with, just the fact that he always got his teams to the playoffs, always made runs at it. I mean, you know, there was, you know, that Miami Heat series where they lost, and, you know, with the Ray Allen 3, there's a lot of occasions, I know, when I'm saying coulda, woulda, shoulda, but like, he could have had like 8 titles. You know, but he was just so consistent all the time. And Kobe was good, but Kobe had to adjust, especially after Shaq. And I know LA management wasn't the greatest, especially with those Kwame Brown and all that, you know, a Smush Park.
He's been on some bad teams.
He's been on some bad teams. I give it to him. And then management, they said something better. But I was more impressed with Tim Duncan always getting his team there year in and year out. That to me, you know, they both have 5 titles, but I thought Timmy just, I thought he was just always consistent, more consistent than Kobe.
Got it. Let's go, Ani, with your number 4 guy, and we'll go around the horn again.
See, I don't have Kobe on my top 5.
I knew you did it, because once you said Tim Duncan at 5, I knew Kobe was off. That's why I did it, as I want to ask you guys those follow-up questions.
So number 4 to me is Wilt Chamberlain. You know, people talk about, oh yeah, he put these numbers against these plumbers and firemen or whatever, but he was a freak of nature. Like, at his size, length, athleticism, big time high jumper, and long. Like, if you watch Wilt's games, which I just tell people, watch like 10 minutes, because you may fall asleep if you try to watch like a whole game. But if you watch whole games on YouTube, like, it is fantastic to see how he runs the floor, finish. Like, the stuff that he did on the court was fantastic. You got guys, we talk about Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Like, Kareem was going to be Kareem, but like, he looked at guys like Wilt, right? That's like, you talk about idols become your rivals. Like, that was it. Wilt was it. Like, that was someone Kareem looked up to. That was a lot. That was a big that a lot of the bigs today look up to. Yes, he put up gaudy numbers, but I just think he is, when you talk about just supreme bigs, like, he's the one that started it all. So I had to put him up in my top 5.
That's he's awesome. Obviously, I'll come back to him, but go ahead, Chelsea. Who is your number 4?
At number 4, I got the Magic Johnson. He's probably, because of just my generation, a player that I have had to go out of my way to study. You know, you hear about the greatness of Magic and his passing and different stuff. Like, I can't tell you how many times I've had to, you know, look up just classic games of his, and being a point guard, the passing ability is just always what stuck out to me. You know, he hit the ground running right when he came into the league. was exceptional. The way he was able to lead and carry. And like I said, just being biased because of the position, even though he was so big, he was still a point guard. Sure. And so for me, like he has to be on my list kind of just by default. But I didn't really get to see him live, but I definitely have just watched a lot of hardwood classics and just really appreciate him. And it seems like his peers appreciate him a lot too. You know, in terms of all-time point guards, they have him at the top of the list, and I can't say that those people are wrong.
No doubt, no doubt. Those two guys, Ani, I would say, like, man, when I'm looking at Wilt, I'm like, am I going to leave him off my list? So I can see, like, how he almost has to, like, be on, but you can make an argument why he's not. I don't know if it's the titles or maybe Bill Russell and those guys overshadowing him. I don't know if his numbers are video game numbers. Maybe because he's not around to talk as much. Will talked a lot in the 90s when you talked about promos, shows, HBO shows. When I was, in my teens and 20s and young, Will was out there a lot. And then he passed at a young age, kind of at a young age, and was like, oh man, Will's gone. We missed, like, what? Like, it was almost like we just missed him. Because Will was still in shape and an athlete. Like, they were like, dude, Will was just like, if we talked about the greatest athletes of all time, he'd be on my, like, top 2 or 3. But, like, yeah, he could do whatever he wanted. He was like, oh, it's not a big deal. Like, I'll play in the NBA if I want. Like, not a big deal. He was just had that attitude, just kind of singular, maybe because it's a team game. He was kind of singular. Like, you don't talk about his teammates, Hal Greer, that much. And some other – he played on a couple of great teams with the Lakers and the Sixers. They won 2 titles. So, yeah, for that. And then with Magic, like, he's my favorite player. So it'd be, I don't want to, like, say, oh, he's number 1. So, like, I get what you have him for. Chelsea, if you didn't see him live, I get why he's 4. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think he can be much lower than that. I don't know if Ani has him on his list. We're going to find out. But we'll see. We'll get to it. We're not, but, like, he's one of a kind. I just think we're going to see the guys that you say, oh, there's not going to be another guy like him. We're going to see all those guys before we see the next Magic. We've been trying to find the next Magic. It's not even close. There's nobody like him for unique. And you see him live, it's incredible. So those are great picks. My number 4 guy is LeBron. You guys are probably going to have him higher. Yeah, my number 4 guy.
Oh, man.
Wow.
Because, again, I'm putting him to Larry Bird. And honestly, 5 years ago, I'd probably have Bird still higher. But, like, LeBron, you start appreciating his longevity. But also, if he's a pass-first player, like, you see him in high school, you're like, wait, this guy's 6'8", 190, 200. He's a pass-first player. And now he's the all-time leading scorer. Like, what? Like, oh, my God. Like, he is that good. You got to, like, you can't knock him. I still think, and we can talk about it, and once we get through all our picks, just why the arguments for or not, like, he's got to be above. Is he a great? He might be the 3rd or 4th best point guard, but I still think he's a better at a small forward. His athleticism, the way he moves, the way he gets out on the fast break, like, he's much better if he's with a traditional point guard. I still think, even though he can be the point guard if you want him to, whatever you want him to. My knock would be, why he'd be 4 is, like, I wish what I see now is if he can play a little bit more back to the basket, not have to dribble out on the perimeter so much, try to do so much, he'd be even more effective in his later years. And I knew this 5-7 years ago. I was like, LeBron's never going to learn his back to the basket. For reals, like, come on, let's get it. I already knew what's happening now was going to happen because you can see it. Like, he's not going to get a half hook. He's not going to get a jump stop hook. Like, he's not going to incorporate that in his game. He's going to play on the perimeter until he's done. And that's okay. He's still awesome. But, like, so he'd be my number 4. I know you guys will probably agree, and we'll break it down. Like, LeBron, he's right. And I'll break it down some more. But let's jump back into your number 3 pick on, and then we'll come back and talk about that.
Okay, number 3, I have Kareem.
Okay.
Again, like, I've got he was before my time, but getting to watch him just. Yeah. He had the most dominant shot. I think him and Dirk, I mean, his is better than Dirk's one, like fade, but he just that skyhook you weren't blocking at all. And he was just real dominant in defense, and he was championships, was the all-time leading scorer, and second all-time still. It was just he had an amazing career. And I still really, like, impressed with just him being on the spotlights for so long, like even in high school, and him even really accomplishing and surpassing what people had of him, and even in college, how dominant he was. He couldn't even dunk. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't think at the time, Ronnie, that he could dunk. I think,
They outlawed it. They outlawed it. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, just how dominant he was. I mean, we talk about dominance, like he was very dominant, especially in his younger years. So I had Kareem number 3.
Wow. Yeah. Chelsea, who's your number 3?
Yeah, I agree with you, Ani. I have Kareem. Obviously, it's before my time as well, but I mentioned on a previous pod how Kareem is my dad's all-time favorite player. So I know a lot about him because we argue all the time. And so, I have, done some research on him. I have watched some games with my dad, back to Hardwood Classics, and just, learning about how exceptional he was and how he's like the most winningest player ever on every single level. And my dad always raves about that, just how he got it done in college, and 3-time champ, 3-time player of the year. Then he comes and he hits the league and he's still doing crazy numbers and winning there. So Kareem's definitely on my list. Obviously, I didn't get to see a lot of him live, actually none, but I've just had the opportunity to learn more about him through my dad. And it just seems like, rightfully so, he belongs up there.
Oh, yeah. You guys both have Kareem at 3. Man, we say about him, like you said. I think the main thing is he came into college. He was probably already one of the 10 best players in the world, somewhere in that range. Most people think he'd been an NBA All-Star out of high school. But like you said, he delivered. And he had to sit out the one freshman year. And then they were literally expected to win 3 straight titles, and they did. That's pretty nuts. Nobody thought about him leaving early to the NBA or anything. Maybe if the ABA would have offered him. But like he was going to go to the NBA.
Right.
And he was taken care of by his UCLA. So maybe he wasn't going to leave. You know what I mean? Like he didn't enjoy it all the time. He talks about that. He didn't enjoy it all the time. He felt like an outcast a little bit. He was this guy 7-footer walking around campus. But he stuck it out. And I think that gives him a lot of validity and a lot of perspective. I wish like we talked about just a minute ago, we could have interviewed him more, maybe talked about it a little bit more. And maybe he turned some of those down, as you said, Chelsea. Maybe he didn't want to speak that much. Maybe he didn't want to take away from LeBron. But you can't go wrong with Kareem at that spot. My number 3 would be Magic. It was very hard because I'm like, okay, Kareem and Magic. So I'll kind of give away. Like I'm looking at those 2 guys. I'm like, no, ain't no way in hell I'm putting Kareem above Magic. But then when I think about, because I'm like, okay, Kareem stuck around because of Magic, but then I'm thinking about like 20 years and how he was winning before, the numbers, college, like he won an NBA title in his 2nd year with the Bucks. Like you say, he delivered. He just delivered. So Magic would have to be my 3, and I have to put. I'm kind of giving away where I have Kareem a little bit, but yeah, I think because of he left at 32 years old. One of the most shocking days of my life. Again, at that time, I'm in junior high, going into high school or whatever. And the thing is, we're like, Magic is going to pass away. Yeah, he's going to die. We're like, what? Like, this is not. And, him living like that, which is real crazy. I'll be quite frank with you guys. Byron Scott had mentioned that, and Worthy were like, the reason why they found out Magic had to get a test. It was for insurance. It wasn't for the Lakers physical. It was his insurance. And they said, guys, they're going to say either you have to come to practice early today or there's no practice today. Something's wrong with Irvin, right? That's how they talked about it. And the first thing Worthy and Byron Scott said is, oh, crap, I hope he doesn't have like a disease or AIDS or something. So like people were still kind of like the party was over. Whatever party the Lakers had going on, whatever party the NBA had going on, the world was like over with just people being maybe like these parties, these drugs, the excess days were kind of over, even for like the media, for everybody else involved. There was even people in the media crying at his press conference when he, at the presser the next day. There was people in the media crying, like, because they knew something was going to be completely different. The world wasn't going to change. So we're happy to see, like, now you're looking at it later, like he's kind of like a beacon of hope of like, if you have the means, if you do things, can turn it around, like never give up hope. Like the way he handled it, I'm not sure most athletes or most people could handle that. You know, like he was smiling, he kept a good, like he says a lot of good things about Cookie. Cookie stayed by his side. Obviously, Cookie could have been like, I'm out of here, you know, like all that. The way he carried it was terrific for him. So that's one of the things I remember. So that's why I can't have him higher. I think for talent wise, I'd have him higher, but like he lost maybe 2 or 3 years. And then the part of his greatness on the court, the Lakers were still favored to win the West right before that announcement. That training camp, the Lakers are still favored to win the West with that aging team. Like I talked about it in the last pod about they couldn't listen to Pat Riley anymore. Like his voice just wasn't resonating. So they switched over to Mike Dunleavy. Mike Dunleavy was great in the half court. They called it slow time. They had Sam Perkins. They had a big team. They were all 6'9", Worthy, Perkins, Magic, and they adjusted their game, and it was terrific. They beat a really good Blazers team in the Western Finals. The Blazers were 63-19, and Magic got. That's what I was like. Magic, this dude is the best ever. Like I was like, they're still winning even though he's old, and that's what kind of what I'm saying. Like LeBron and others have to adjust their game. Like you have to adjust to the times. We talked about with Russell Westbrook and others. Adjust your game like this dude did. He got in the post. He became like this big guard, like point forward, and who knows what he would have done like at 32, 33, 34. Maybe he would have won one more. I don't know. So that's why I have him 3 is the lack of longevity, because I think he might have been higher for me. Yeah. I mean, do you guys have any thoughts like so far on our 3 picks? Anything surprising? Anything like you guys have Kareem, I have Magic. I kind of locks down who the top 2 guys are, but like maybe there'll be some surprises. I mean, what do you guys think so far?
Yeah, with Matt with LeBron at 4, that's crazy.
Yeah, thank you.
That's crazy. I know. But listen, I mean, listen, you talk about Magic ending at 32. Yeah. LeBron playing at damn near 40.
38, right?
Yeah.
Right. I'll take Magic's 5 rings. You can keep playing.
Man. Oh man.
Keep playing. Yeah, I just think at that time, like, you know, the dynasties that were involved, for him to go 5-4 was pretty impressive. 5-4 is pretty good at that time, in that era, you know. Yeah. So we'll keep going. I know you guys don't like that 4th pick. I'm gonna break it down. Oh, you guys are still not gonna agree, but we'll keep breaking it down. So, Ani, who do you got at number 2?
I got 2. I got LeBron James. Okay, and at 2. Not a whole lot need to be said, right, about LeBron, but I have him 2 on my list.
Yeah, that makes sense. I see why. I break down why not, but I see why. Chelsea, who you got at number 2?
That's respectful, Ani. I like that. That's respectful. You kept it respectful. My number 2 is Michael Jordan. So, you know, and when y'all want to get into it, we can get into it. Okay. Mike is incredible. That goes without saying. And I'm gonna tell you why he's not number 1 when the time comes. But for now, I got him number 2.
Yeah, obviously, we won't have to say much about that. Those are making sense. So for me, number 2 would be Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. We talked about him. I think that's awesome. Where we have us 3, so 2 at number 3, 1 me at number 2. That kind of shows you how really good Kareem is. Like just the consistency, the 6 titles. The 6 titles makes a big difference. Like in my opinion, so you start looking at Tim Duncan, Magic. It's like the 6th is that's like something big, you know, that 6 makes a big difference. I think again, we don't have to spend much time in because we already talked about it. And the longevity, we like the longevity. Except, you know, I'm like, damn, Magic, what happened? You know, so like, but he got it done in his time, so that's why I had him 3rd. So without further ado, let's review your pick. So Ani, you got Duncan, Wilt, Kareem, Bron. So we kind of know who your number 1 guy is. Just go ahead and spit it out, and then we'll get to Chelsea's number 1 guy.
Yeah, it's Luka Doncic.
Stop.
Magic.
Yeah. No, it's Michael Jordan.
Sure.
Yeah, you know.
Yeah.
MJ, just what he did, like obviously the 6 rings. Yeah. I mean, people would talk about. I mean, the dude retired twice, right? Like. I know, again, coulda, woulda, shoulda, but like we talk about LeBron, but what if Michael played all the way till 2000? What was 2003? When was the last one? And that so game. I mean, that's how good he won all these championships and did what he did, and he really sat out like 4 or 5 seasons. To me, like there's nobody like he's the GOAT. Yeah, he's the GOAT.
Got it. The real quick comment I would say about that is watching The Last Dance, and if he doesn't leave those 2 years, obviously that kind of helped Dream stature. No doubt, that's brought an elevated Dream up. But like for them to win in '94, then come back in '95, you would think just their run wouldn't have lasted to '98. Something would have happened. They maybe would get injury. I just don't see them winning 8 in a row. That's just
no. I don't think they win 8 in a row.
No,
I just think
something happens. You know, you injury. You don't get Rodman. They needed that break to win that second 3 in a row. In my opinion, because they were done. As you can see in The Last Dance, they were done. They were not coming back in '99. No way. They were.
Oh no, they were done. They were done. I think when we just talk about like his numbers, like when you look at his stats, I think he's in a whole different animal. I don't think they win 8. I still think they win 6. You know, maybe more spaced. Yeah, more spaced out. But I think his numbers would even be like, whoa, like he's that's 4 or 5 seasons he didn't play. That's a lot.
Correct, and he would have played at a high level. Yeah, that's interesting to think. Maybe 5 in a row, 6 in a row, and then they go for it. I would have liked to see them go for 5 or 6 in a row.
Right.
The build up and see if they could have done it again, because the break was very like, wow, is he coming out? We all kind of knew he was coming back at some point. You could see. Right. So without further ado, let's reveal Chelsea's. It's Kobe Bean 5, Magic 4, Kareem 3, Jordan 2. So obviously number 1 is
the real GOAT, the all-time leading scorer, LeBron James at number 1. And Ani, to the point that you just made, do you think that LeBron would not benefit from having 4 years off, space in between his seasons?
He still wouldn't have it. He would still have 3 titles.
Listen, he's been playing all the way through for so long and being so great for so long. So that's got to count for something. And titles is a team thing. So individually, he has done incredible things just like Jordan. And that's why he's my GOAT.
Gotcha.
Yeah, it's a team thing. He's played on great teams and he's lost.
Okay. Okay. All right. Go.
He lost with great teams.
Okay. Go. All right. We're going to get into it. Go ahead.
Okay. So, yeah, I mean, that's once you put Jordan 2, it's obvious who's number 1. My just review real quick is Bird. LeBron is getting the small forward debate we could talk about a little about. Then Magic, again, no longevity compared to Kareem. So then my number 1 would be Jordan. You know, when he was playing, when he retired the first time, the thing with his dad and him playing baseball, I still didn't think he was number 1. I still thought Magic and Kareem were. It's like Magic and Kareem are the dudes. I mean, he had 3 titles at the time, and it was kind of sucky because Magic had just left early, and then he left. I remember where I was. I mean, it was like the teacher rolled in the TV, and we saw it, and I was like, man, this dude's retiring. And then I think he was coming back, not right away, but maybe a year later. I was like, he's gonna come back. Right. You know what I mean? Like he's too young, and I give him credit for, like you said, and we talked a little bit about Jason, his approach to the game. They lost to the Orlando Magic in that Eastern Conference final, and the Magic were kind of, honestly, now I look back, a little pompous, and maybe they were immature because Penny and Shaq were 24 years old. They were carrying Horace Grant on his shoulders like they had accomplished some great thing, and like Jordan was like, okay, I'm getting back in the gym. I'm getting back to the lab right away. Like, I mean, he turned it up. So honestly, I think MJ from 95 to 98 is like, that player is like the 3rd or 4th best player, even if the younger player wasn't around. Like he was thicker. His shoulders were big. He would be in the post, just jumper, turnaround, jumper. I was like, this dude got it again. Like he dominated in a slightly different fashion. If you didn't watch it closely, like he was much more airborne in his first 3 titles. You know, he was in the air a lot, moving, jumping. His second run, he was much more on the ground. He can occasionally get up and he will dunk on something like the one on Oster Tag or something like that. But like he became a different player, and you got to give credit to his like physical conditioning to be at the peak. Because we talk about peak, and I think the load management thing. I see peak. Like what I saw on Tuesday was embarrassing. Honestly, when I saw this, that's embarrassing. That's not peak. Like, maybe there's a little bit about the NBA. I don't want to pick on LeBron or Russ or any of the Lakers. Like, that's a little bit embarrassing. I don't want to see that. So, great. I'm glad he has the numbers, but like, I want to see your peak at your peak if you can play to that level in that moment. So that's kind of why I like Jordan. So those are our lists. I hope you guys enjoyed them, and I want to break them down a little bit. Ani, Chelsea's list: Kobe, Magic, Kareem, Jordan, Bron. What's their why Duncan over Kobe? Now, did you have Kobe 6 or no? You don't have Kobe 6.
I have Kobe 6.
Okay.
I have Kobe 6. I just like Duncan's consistency. I'm not saying Kobe wasn't consistent. It's just like I didn't know it was a team game, but Duncan, just what he did with the Spurs. We talk about San Antonio Spurs for one, who were completely irrelevant. I know Dave Robinson had this little moment, and Hakeem schooled him that one playoff series, but they were no one knew who the hell the San Antonio Spurs were. So like the fact that he got that, like his addition got them to where they are even today, even though they're still, they're a rebuilding spot, but just what they were for the next like 16, 17 years, that was impressive. I mean, that for me, LA was already established, and they had some role. Like Timmy just did it on his own, with help obviously, but like
they had some great players.
Yeah, but he helped bring a organization that no one really talked about.
No doubt. Yeah, I see that. So Ani's list, and you guys can criticize mine, I'll say it again, but like he has Duncan, and that kind of, like I said, knocks out Kobe, Wilt, Kareem, Bron, MJ. What do you think about that? And does his argument have validity to why he knocked Kobe? I kind of figured Kobe was 6, but I wasn't sure. I thought maybe he's 7 on for you. But what do you think there, Chelsea?
No, I'm okay with Ani's list. I'm okay with it. Like, I think, he was respectful with keeping Bron at 2. I don't respect any list with Bron less than 2, Ronnie. So let me just go there for your list, because that's just crazy. Okay, that's just crazy. So Ani kept it respectful. So I'm okay with this list, and I'm a huge Tim Duncan fan too. Like I just think him being in the post and him not having the wow factor like Kareem did. For me, that's why I told you my list is based off of how these players made me feel. And, a couple of them, I wasn't there to see the live games, but even when I'm watching the replays of Magic, and Kareem is just like, it's crazy. I do like Wilt though. I like Ani's pick with Wilt on the list because this man scored 100 points in a game. Like, I don't think people understand. Like, I don't care if he's playing against plumbers and nail technicians. Like, you have to make those baskets.
Facts.
Yeah. You have to make those baskets. So people can say whatever, you still have to make those baskets. 100 points is absolutely insane. A lot of those records that Wilt has that just, points are just untouchable. And those are longstanding records. We talked previously about, me thinking that records are meant to be broken. And I think in due time, they will be, but not in our lifetime. Not in my lifetime do I think people are going to touch, some of these records that we see from Wilt. So I'm very okay with Ani's list. I'm not okay with Ronnie's list. And I just want to get into the Jordan and Bron. So, go ahead, Ronnie. Do your part. When it's time for Jordan and Bron, let's get to it.
Yeah, no doubt. Bird, like I said, Magic, Bird, LeBron. Again, I'm trying to compare those. There'll always been the comparison at the small forward. I'm not going to put LeBron over Magic. If I want a point guard, I'm taking Magic over LeBron.
Okay,
it's not even. They're not even in the same ballpark, really. Like in terms of a point guard, you know what I mean? Like, but their game, LeBron could do other things, and then Kareem, MJ. I probably looking at it. I don't know if Kareem, I would have had him that high a few years ago. You know what I mean? Like you said, I'm surprised. I was like, am I going to leave off Wilt? Yeah, I'm going to leave off Wilt. Dang, like you're right. Maybe he should be the guy on, but nah. The reason I like Bird, he's one of one. There's only one guy that's 20, 10, and 5. And that's my knock on LeBron. There's only one guy 20, 10, and 5. Like LeBron, you're at times the biggest dude on the court, and you're averaging 7 rebounds. Maybe because he's a guard, like, so we could say about, oh, Larry Bird's not the quickest, but why does he average 10 rebounds a game? You know what I mean? I'm trying to like, why does he average 10 rebounds a game if he's not one of the quicker guys of the ball or something like that? So again, he's at basically 24, 10, and 6.5. LeBron's at 27, 7, and 7. And then my other difference would be, again, unless you watch him, he never really dribbled. The guy never really dribbled. So it would just be a touch pass, about a basic pass. He dribbled once or twice and moved the ball, but he's still averaging in the 6.5 assist range. It's just incredible. So I think that was awesome for him. In terms of we went over Magic. Again, go look at what happened to Worthy's career, what happened to Cooper, what happened to Scott after Magic left. That team was nowhere. So he elevated them. So that was one thing that I kind of thought with that. And then, the top two guys, like you said, again, we have two guys that have MJ, and then Chelsea, you have them at number 2, and our number 2 picks are a little different. Bron and Kareem. I guess to get into it, like let's get to Bron and MJ, and then I guess I could jump in right here. But like you two, why do you guys have it switched, Ani? Why is LeBron number 1? Because he's not even close to number 1 for me. But why is he number 2? And then what's the argument there?
I just think you look at his longevity, right? Chelsea talks about just him consistently do it over the years, him being 38 and still doing what he's doing, and being the all-time leading scorer, and just 3 titles, right? I think LeBron's number 2. I really do feel like just what he's done in his career and how long he's done it, consistently done it. I think that's just we haven't really seen that. I think Kareem, right? But
we've seen it
with Kareem, but I think for like a wing, we haven't seen it like that. So for me, that's why I feel like LeBron's he's number 2 for me, but he's not better than Jordan.
Okay. Chelsea, why? You know a lot about Jordan. You caught the tail end. Yeah. Obviously, LeBron is live, but why?
Well, I just feel like Jordan is more. I mean, not Jordan. LeBron for me is more.
Not Jordan. Yeah,
no. I am a fan of passing, and although Jordan can pass, but I'm a fan of just doing everything and making the right play. And the biggest knock that we love to knock LeBron is his finals losses and blah, blah, blah. That's all fine. But Michael Jordan, listen, he had so many first round exits and so many chances that he didn't even make it to the finals. Why are you knocking a player? That's what I want to ask you, Ani. Let me stop. Let me just before I get into it.
Yeah.
So you believe it's better to lose in the first round and not make it to the finals than get to the finals and lose? Because that's the biggest thing I hear about Bron.
I would say this about Bron. Michael played with the cards that was dealt with. And then Chicago, obviously Scottie Pippen getting drafted, Horace Grant, Dennis Rodman, like those guys, it helped. Where Bron was going to places where there was a big 3. Like, what was a big 3 before? I mean, Magic had, but like he tried to manipulate the roster to get what he wanted.
And that's what he's doing now, right?
That's what he's doing now. And he's losing with that roster, right? That to me, like Michael in his younger years was winning. And if you looked at that roster was losing in first round, like, against Boston, where he had to have 60 something in the playoff game or stuff like that. But look at his roster. Like, go back to that. I think there was George Gervin on there, and he was like 35 or something like that. Like, they weren't good. They weren't good. Now, you could say that about LeBron in his early Cleveland years. I'm not even knocking that part, right? Like, Big Z and them were, no knock on Big Z, but I mean, that's your starting center. You got them to the finals. That's impressive, right? But Michael Michael was not trying to manipulate the roster like that to get what he wanted. Like, LeBron's going here, he's going there, he's trying to do this, and you're losing with that roster that you basically are forcing management to take, right? And you lost with them. That to me is like, okay, like I can't compare him and Michael.
Okay,
got it.
I think that is a very fair argument. But what I also will say too is that the Chicago Bulls were able to draft and bring people, bring Michael Jordan pieces and Scottie and Dennis, who they were able to get these pieces for him to get over the hump. Bron was playing in Cleveland. He's doing everything that he can, dragging that team as far as he can. And if he didn't manipulate any rosters, he would have never won. And the point that I like to make about the manipulation, the point that I like to make about him switching teams and doing all this stuff, though, Ronnie, is that he always had the right to do so. Bron never demanded a trade. He always fulfilled his contract. So as a player, it's a players' league. He also never benefited from a Hall of Fame coach. Shoot, let's give Bron Phil Jackson and see if how we do. Like, so because the cards he was dealt were shitty, and so we had to switch up the hand a little bit. And for that, he will not be knocked. Okay, so I do agree that Bron has done a lot of manipulation. You don't. I have no argument with you there. But what I'm saying is he wasn't able to get good pieces in Cleveland because nobody wants to go there. And the fact of the matter is, whether how the players got there or not, Jordan couldn't win until he got pieces too. Everybody needs pieces. So you're focusing on how the pieces got there. The bottom line is when the pieces got there, Jordan started winning. And when Bron got the pieces, he started winning. So in my opinion,
I mean, he started winning, but not winning like Jordan.
Okay, but listen. Didn't you guys tell me most of Bron's losses come from the 72-9 Warriors? Didn't you guys tell me that was the best team ever? So Bron's losing to the best team ever for most of his finals losses. The Dallas is inexcusable. So we're going to just throw that out. But I'm saying he's losing team, the quote unquote best team ever.
Yeah.
You know, it happens. But all I'm saying as a player, people make all this argument about him getting to the finals and losing. There's no player that plays basketball that would tell you they'd rather lose in the first round just to avoid to have a loss on the finals if they get there. Like, that's just crazy. Be for real, Ani.
He still has three. He has 3 titles. He can't win with the group that he manipulated and put together, right? That he told him to get. Remember, this is the same man that told him to draft Norris Cole or something. He be telling dudes what to draft and they don't be panning out too. So, like, again, like this is his fault as well for them losing. Like for the wins, yes, and for the losses too. Like you are telling people, you're telling management who to draft, who to trade, do all this stuff, and you lose with them. That's on you.
But I'm sorry that I chose Anthony Davis, who's never available. So no, that is not my fault. Okay, if Anthony Davis is
he stayed hurt. He stayed hurt in New Orleans. In New Orleans,
if AD is who he's supposed to be, we would have already won 2 more.
They called him street clothes for a reason. He was street clothes for a reason.
The bottom line is, Ani, you still have not answered my question. Would you rather lose in the first round or lose in the finals?
I would rather never lose. I want to win. Like, I don't want to lose. I don't want to lose.
In the first round like crazy. From 85 to 90.
I'd rather lose in the first round because I don't want to get that far and lose. So I'd rather just win. Like, I'm just going to win.
No player is telling you, I don't want to play for a championship because we might lose and I don't want that on my record.
I don't want to lose. I don't want to lose in the first round. I don't want to lose the second round. I don't want to lose in the conference finals. I don't want to lose in the finals.
I get that. But the argument for Jordan is that he's never lost in the finals, but y'all disregard all the times he's lost, period. You can't get to the finals if you lose in the first round.
Did LeBron lose, though? LeBron lost, too.
Yes, he did.
So they both lost.
Yes, but I'm just saying in general, that's the biggest knock. The knock is championships, and I'm not talking about that. We're going off of everything else because there's a lot of people that have more championships than Mike and Bron.
But you're going something very specific, like finals losses compared to first round losses. Like no, like your loss is a loss.
The only point I'm making is you cannot get to the finals if you lose in the first round. So I get
that. She's going to be on that. She's going to have to. The only thing I would say about that is he was going up against a couple of dynasties. They weren't going to get by Boston, and then he finally figured out how to get by Detroit. Mm-hmm. And once, like Ani, I think to your point, maybe you would, which is once he figured that out, he never looked back, is what you're saying. So where LeBron has been more on a roller coaster, up and down, move, trade, up and down, sign here, lose, come back, win. I guess that's what you're saying. Like once he figured it, he never lost again, or in that regard. So yeah, that makes sense. And those are valid arguments. I guess you could knock Jordan for that. For knocking LeBron, I would think is what the expectations were. So I don't know what did people expect Jordan to win 6? No. When they beat the Lakers, we were like, they're going to win 6? Probably not, because Portland was really good.
Right.
It's kind of disappointing for Portland not to win 1, honestly. When Magic knocked them out, and then they were really good. and they were really good again in 90, and Detroit beat them. So that's kind of why Clyde is nowhere near anybody's top 25. That, so I can see that Jordan knocked out a lot of guys. My problem with LeBron in that regard, and when you're saying is back to Kobe, you're going to get outplayed by Paul Pierce badly. And then LeBron, you said, what's LeBron going to do here? Because I thought after the 2010 season, I was like, okay, Paul Pierce has outplayed him twice now in the playoffs. Is he going to move? Are they going to get rid of Mike Brown? Because remember, Mike, they had the best record in the league, I think, 2 years in a row. And then it was like, is Cleveland going to bring in more pieces? Is LeBron going to leave? And obviously, we found out that summer he tap, 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 I'm out of here. You know what I mean? So that's kind of where I have the knock. You're not supposed to get outplayed by a guy, quote unquote, at your position. That's why I would knock LeBron down.
I think
by Paul Pierce.
I think that's super valid. And I want to make it clear that I'm not knocking Jordan for his losses in the first round. I'm just saying that that's something that we always talk about. And my thing is well, if you lose in the first round, you can't even get to the finals. So you can't lose there because you're not getting there. So I think that we always talk about semantics and how certain people acquired certain things. And I'm just saying there's no team, all these teams that are winning championships have people. And Jordan needed help. And Bron definitely needed help. So I'm not disputing any of that. I'm just looking at the facts that he needed help. So he moved around, which he had a right to do. He's never demanded a trade, never broke his contract. He's always fulfilled it. And so, he's manipulated some pieces. I cannot, I cannot disregard that. But I just feel like that shouldn't be, I just feel like he's exceeded expectations. And I don't think anybody's did you guys, just like you didn't expect Jordan, to win his 6 championships, were you guys expecting LeBron to win all these championships? And you definitely weren't in Cleveland. Be for real.
I thought you would have 4 or 5 by now.
Well, not in Cleveland. Because again, Paul Pierce is the boss. Boston's getting by them. So when that rivalry turned into a Miami-Boston rivalry, I thought LeBron was going to start getting over the hump because I said, you guys remember in 2012, Boston was ahead 3-2 with 2 games two games down in Miami. I was like, ooh, all they need to get is 1. And Paul Pierce and them are going to knock LeBron off again. But then he did it. They won the last 2. And then they won again. So that kind of got LeBron on the right track. Okay, I think he's going to win 3 or 4 titles. At that point, once they got past 212, I was like, he's going to win 3 or 4 titles because he had just lost to Dirk. And I was like, he's down 3-2 again. I was like, he's going to lose again and not have 1 title. Ooh, this is getting later in his career. But he did get over the hump. But that didn't scream to be best player at all time at that. It's the best player at all time. No. Not the best player at all time. Because there's question marks. Again, you're answering them, Chelsea, and you're answering them well. But there's Ani's still there's still question marks to me. So that was one of the things I thought Jordan's not getting outplayed by a 2-guard or a small forward. I didn't see that. He's killing his guy. You know what I mean? And another thing, I'm going to get off topic just for 1 second. We'll get right back on is the Celtics. They act KG and Paul Pierce and them. They act like they won 4 or 5 titles. Get over it. You guys won 1.
Right.
Act like they're that's such a great
like a dynasty or something.
Yeah, they need to relax as time goes on. Paul Pierce, dude, you did your thing. You knocked Cleveland out. You did your thing. That's my knock on Kobe. You got manhandled by losing by 40 in a closeout game. I'll be honest with you guys. The game on Tuesday against Oklahoma and LeBron, I saw it in the same bar that I saw the Lakers and Celtics, and they got 40-pieced. I was like,
oh, wow.
I still remember that because I remember how quiet the bar was. I was like, oh, Kobe, Lakers, what are you guys doing?
Right.
The whole place was just quiet. So that's kind of my knock. So I want to ask you this. You tell me this, Ani. Which player is this on an all-time list? You tell me who this guy is. 2 titles, 2 finals MVPs, 9 scoring titles, 1 MVP, 1 defensive player of the year, and 3 all defense. Who is that? You want me to say it again? I'll say it real quick.
Yeah, say it again.
2 titles, 2 finals MVPs, 9 scoring titles, 1 MVP, 1 defensive player, and 3 all defense.
I know who it is. I
You know
Hakeem?
who it is now?
Hakeem?
Huh?
Hakeem.
No. Where do you guys have Akeem? 10? And then
9 scoring. You said 9 scoring titles. I'm tripping.
I think KD.
KD. Oh, the
Is it
KD.
KD?
Okay, that's fair enough.
He has
two
two
finals MVPs.
titles, 2 finals MVPs, a whole bunch of scoring titles.
Was he like in the top 7 or 8?
No, he's not. But I'm just saying,
Wow.
I didn't know if that's who you were.
Okay. You know who that player is?
Who
is it?
It's the difference between Jordan and and LeBron. It's the difference between Jordan and LeBron. Accolades, right? That's the difference.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, but we just talked about how Bron it was pass first. Why would he be getting scoring titles? Do you really think that Bron couldn't get the scoring title if he thought about it, like 1 and 2? Think about it.
How about the other accolades? That's fine. Forget the 9 scoring titles, throws it off. Okay, how about the other accolades? Like,
he's been the finals MVP in every championship, so he just needed to win more. He would definitely have more finals MVPs for sure.
See what I'm saying?
And then the league MVP, Bron got to a point where people didn't want him to win anymore. They let Derrick Rose win. That was for sure. That was
really good. That
was for sure Bron's MVP. Derrick Rose was incredible. Let's be honest. Let's be honest. Just like Steve Nash stole the MVP from Kobe, like D Rose definitely stole MVP from. Yeah, and D Rose definitely, that was Bron's MVP. But I like D Rose. We can give it to him. But the scoring title thing. The scoring title, being the all-time leading scorer trumps the scoring titles. Thanks.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
Yes. It for sure does.
That's hilarious.
I've scored the most points, period.
So, like you said, Ani, to the accolades in 13 years to the accolades in 20 years, the difference is a Hall of Fame player.
Right.
That guy, whoever that fictitious player is, that's a Hall of Fame player right there.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
I really thought that was KD.
It's close to. It's about as good. That's about the difference between the 2
championships, 2 finals MVPs. I don't know how many scoring titles, but probably at least 6, 7.
Yeah, sure. You're right. That is close to KD minus, and then the 1 Defensive Player of the Year award, 3 All Defense. I mean, where does LeBron stand there? Like, here's what I want you to look at, Chelsea. Go check it out when you get a chance. LeBron, the block, right? Andre Iguodala. He's had another couple plays. Go look at how many times Dr. J blocked 100 shots in a season, and go look at how many times LeBron blocked 100 shots in a season. Just 100 shots in a season. Mm-hmm. And then that's just an accolade. Like, maybe it's a athletic play, or because we talk about how athletic he's played. He's the best run down blocks and things like that. So when you get a chance, go look at that. Just come back next spot and we'll talk about it a little bit.
Okay, wait. Who did you tell me to look up? Bron and who?
LeBron and Dr. J. How many times they blocked 100 shots in a season? So what's that? 1.2 blocks a game? Okay. Yeah. So, right. He's again. Jordan has a Defensive Player of the Year award and a few more All Defense.
Jordan was definitely a better defender.
Say that again.
Jordan was definitely a better defender, but not a better passer, not a better rebounder, not a better. I mean, scoring average is pretty much the same. Although I will give Jordan the edge for just scoring the ball. But other than that,
Jordan the edge in like 2 major categories already.
Bron is all time in everything. I'm number 1 in points. I'm top 5 in assists. I'm top in steals. Like, I'm in every single category.
Oh, no doubt.
Every single one.
The longevity is pretty
but I don't like that longevity is like a bad thing. Let me be good at anything for 50 years, because that's just insane. Like,
I agree with that. Like,
that should be
with guys that are like prime, try to win the championship, or like, hey, is longevity, and we talked about it all episode 153. Is that, how high is that in your totem pole?
You talking about longevity or peak?
Yeah.
I mean, like, longevity means something to me. It just depends what you do in that peak. I think MJ in his peak just really maximized. I mean, surpass what he did in LeBron's peak, to be honest with you. But I mean, I think what people do at their peak can surpass what someone does with longevity.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Yeah. That's kind of why I'd have to knock Bird and Magic. Because again, at their peak, when I see their numbers are the same, that Bird and LeBron's numbers are pretty much the same at 30 years old. Mm-hmm. Bird is 28-1, 9.2 rebounds, 7.2 assists, 52% from the field. LeBron is 25.3, 6 rebounds, 7.4 assists. And the PER, 26.4 for Bird, 25 for LeBron. So at 30, they were about the same player, like you say, peak, and then Bird was just kept the injuries,
right?
The bad, he just fell off. So like I like LeBron in that regard, and in fact he can play like a point guard. It's just terrific. But like I'm thinking at these blocks, and I'm like, okay, I'm looking at his. Maybe is it fair on to say we want more? Why? Because he's so physically gifted and dominant. Is that why we want more?
Yeah,
we just want a little more. How much more can we want from this guy?
I mean, for me, it's more just on the winning aspect. I think that, yeah. For me with LeBron, that's the biggest thing is that you put these rosters together. 3 titles is impressive. I'm not knocking with 3 titles, but just like you should be at 4 and 5. Like in my honest opinion, like if he had 5 titles, he's the GOAT to me. He's better than MJ. That's my opinion.
That's why you get to 5 and 6. It makes a big difference. Like Tim Duncan's up there with that 5th one. Because I thought they were done. When Kawhi Leonard missed that free throw and Ray Allen hits that 3, because remember, they already had, I don't know if you guys remember, they already had the ropes out for the celebration for San Antonio, right? And then they stole that game 6 and then won game 7. Like, I thought the Spurs were done, but then they came back and won in 2-14. Ooh, like I was like, Tim Duncan that's what I mean. I gotta talk about Kobe for a second. He's not even in my top 5. Again, it's like I don't want the knockoff. I don't want the Chelsea. Do you want a knockoff first or Chanel? Like I don't want the Jordan knockoff. Like I don't give a shit what people like. No, you're not even in. I don't want the knockoff player. You know what I mean? I just don't. You don't emulate somebody but not be better than them, and then people say you're as good as him. That doesn't make sense to me. You know what I mean?
I get that, but I don't think that should, obviously Kobe wanted to do everything like MJ, but like he still did it at a very high level. So it's still like poor man's version, I guess, when you look at it. But at the same time, like, we have those comparisons too, because he mastered certain stuff. I can make an argument that Kobe's footwork was better than Jordan's. Like he stole a lot of Jordan's footwork, but maybe I stole it and I did it better too, So
I mean, there's just so much Jordan
arguments. Overall, it's just Jordan, obviously. But Kobe was a beast too. But I do have a question though that I wanted to ask. Go ahead. Are we going to look at Bron a little bit differently years from now when some of the players that he lost to start creeping into the top 10 all time? Will that make a difference? Is that going to make a difference when, KD finishes top 10 all time and Steph maybe finishes top 10 all time? No, that doesn't help his argument. That just helps the others, basically.
No, I mean,
there's only so much room, right?
Yeah. So, I mean, he's got them at their peak. Now they're just kind of, Steph's still good. KD's still good. But, if they still win a couple more titles, maybe like that helps them out. But it doesn't. Yeah, they have to do more, basically. Like they just have to do more. Not if they just play longer and still are good. They have to do more.
Yeah, I agree. But I also think
that's another thing. Go ahead, Chelsea.
No, you got it.
How much more space is there for anybody? Is it just KD and Steph, and that's it until a whole new group of players comes in, maybe 20 years down the line? Like, how much space is there for any of these younger guys? I guess that's a question for both of you.
I think KD, Steph, and maybe Giannis could creep in there because Giannis is on a tear. Age-wise, Giannis is on a tear.
Yeah, I think Giannis.
So if I had to give 3 people that can get in there, people have Steph maybe number 10 right now. I don't, but he's trending.
He's trending.
If he could, get another one. Then maybe he gets in there for sure. But I think if those are the 3 players off the top of my head that have a chance. KD, I don't know, because if the way Ani breaks down somebody's career, then KD can't be in there, okay? Because he needs
Too one-dimensional.
I seen Jason Kidd guarding him in the finals. In the West, you be getting guarded by Jason Kidd, and no, KD, no. The greatest small forwards that cook KD and cook Jason Kidd. Larry Bird on Jason Kidd or LeBron, knock it off.
KD has no chance, basically, in your eyes.
I just think he's a great scorer, but so is Iceman Gervin, so is a few other guys. You said, when I said those 9 scoring titles, I think the first you guys mentioned, KD, that's KD. You know what I mean? He's got to do more. He's almost what 6'11". So he's tall. I seen KD somewhere recently. He's close to 6'11", 7 foot, and have that offensive ability. But it's like his all around game, I don't see is there. He doesn't. I don't know about his passing numbers, his defense. It's okay. He's solid. He's above average and everything, but not great all time. I don't think. I don't know. What do you think on it?
Yeah, just big time offensive threat. Maybe you could go down as the best offensive player of all time, but that's about it. That's the max I really see him at.
Yeah, but he's not better offensively than Jordan.
No. I'm just saying, like, let's say,
that's where he's at.
He's in that conversation more than
Yeah. So obviously we're gonna get close to wrapping up here. This is fun. I like to, we're just having good fun and making some good points. Hopefully you guys got some good points about these top guys. But the one question I want to ask each of you is who's, I guess we kind of covered it a little bit, but who's the guy that you're like, oh wow, I left him off? Go ahead.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say somebody that we haven't said, who I feel like doesn't get enough respect. Although he's definitely in my top 10. I don't really know exactly where he ranks, but I want to say Shaq. I mean, I just feel like he was so dominant and so incredible. He had weaknesses and stuff, but he still dominated. And he got all the Finals MVPs when he was playing alongside Kobe, which I guess could maybe be a knock on Kobe, even though they were kind of 1A, 1B in those championships. Just the dominance, and you just talk about the disrespect and the way he used to just dunk on people and push them to the ground. I feel like Shaq deserves a little more love. I don't think he's a better player than Larry. That's why I said I don't know exactly where he would be on my top. I think he would definitely be in my top 10. I don't know if I have him 6, 7. I still think Larry and a couple people could have crept in my top 5. But I think Shaq, I think he deserves more love for sure.
Got it. That's a good point. We haven't mentioned Shaq's name at all in 2 weeks. Like, whereas we're talking about,
is he in your guys' top 10 at all?
He's in my top 10.
Okay,
he's close to mine toward the bottom. I like him because, unfortunately, to me, it's just more knock on Kobe. Unfortunately, I'm saying it. We talked about him losing to the Celtics, and there's that rift, and it was kind of sucky, when they lost to Detroit. It's like, hey, this is not going to work out. One of them's got to go. I do think the Lakers made the right choice to keep the younger, harder working player, but Shaq also was like, I ain't even tripping. Like, okay. He guaranteed a title. I don't know if you guys remember when he got off that bus with the Super Soaker and he was goofing around in Miami. He guaranteed a title, and they won one in the second year. And he won right before Kobe did. So I was like, dang, he has 4 titles and Kobe has 3. Like, Shaq is the man. I was like, I was like, you guys. Everybody started falling in love with Kobe again. You know what I mean? Like, I would give Kobe that. When he had his unfortunate thing in Colorado, he wasn't very popular, obviously, but like he rebuilt his image. He got away from Adidas, got with Nike, and got this Black Mamba mantra thing. And I think people started like, okay, we're going to see Kobe and LeBron in the finals. And I think that's where you kind of mentioned Chelsea, like, dang, with Cleveland, like, Cleveland couldn't get in there, and then the Lakers either in 08, 09, or 010. It's like, damn, you know what I mean? Like, I think from a fan's point of view, just strictly fans, people wanted to see that. So, like, Shaq does a little more credit for what he did in Miami. Like you said, he got robbed of a finals. Got robbed of a regular season MVP by Steve Nash, and then they won the championship the next year. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I could see that. I just think maybe the longevity maybe hurts him a little bit. Maybe that's people like, Shaq's out of shape again. Well, I think maybe that hurts him a little bit. I don't see what else has hurt him. He's super dominant. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I guess my player would be that we haven't really mentioned, and I'm looking at him like, dang, yeah, he's going to be left off, is Moses Malone. And Moses really outplayed Kareem quite a few times in the playoffs. Be honest, straight up, he outplayed him. You know what I mean? And so I think he was the best player in the world, probably from like 78 to maybe like 83. For like a period of 5 years, Moses was the best player in the world. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And Dr. J didn't win anything with the 76ers until they got Moses from Houston. He led Houston to the finals. That was pretty amazing.
Yeah.
He led Houston to the finals against Larry, and then they lost. But like Moses did something, he doesn't get mentioned enough. I think there's three outlying things, and we've talked about two of them. Outlying statistical measures is Wilt Chamberlain's scoring, especially like in a single season, 50 points a game, 101 game. Steph Curry's three is now a big outlier, right? When he retires, that number is going to be way out there. Like it's going to be 40% more than Ray Allen or whatever, and Reggie Miller. And then the third outlier, honestly, is Moses's offensive rebound numbers. They're way ahead of number two. It's incredible how good an offensive rebounder he was. He punished Kareem and other guys for many years. So I want to give a shout out to the late Moses Malone. He was awesome. So that would be my guy that was like, wow, he got left off. And then as we close, wanted to go back to the guys over time. Like I said, my list changed from 10 years ago. And Chelsea, you brought it up perfectly earlier. Russell Westbrook. When I was a young guy, 20 years old, there was a guy I worked with in a supermarket. And he was like an old school pimp player guy. He was just like, young blood, you gotta like this dude, blood. You know, that just he was an old school dude. He was old, kind of old at that time. I was 20 years old. Like, what has happened to Oscar Robertson and his greatness? I think, Chelsea, maybe you've asked your dad a little bit about him. Like, in other words, when I was a kid up until I was 20 years old, he was in the top 3 or 4 consistently by everybody. Because everybody was like, Magic Johnson's one of the best players ever. It's like, oh, Oscar, don't forget about Oscar. Triple-double, average a triple-double. Like, what has happened to that in the last 20, 25 years? I mean, you guys are obviously in the younger group, the group that appreciates the older guys, but like for some reason he's just gone from the younger group. Like from everybody's talk, I guess, from the Barstool talk, what's happened to that statistical measure and what happened there? What do you guys think happened there? Because I don't really have the answer.
I mean, when you talk about Big O, I mean, did he even have a title?
Yeah, he had one when Kareem came in.
Yeah, he had one. Yeah, he had one there.
As an older player, as a much older player.
Older player, yeah, that's what I thought. The triple double has kind of just gotten normal, right? Like it's more normal now. Obviously, as time goes by, guys like Big O are going to be left off. I think people need to go watch him and how good he was and how much of a smart player he was. But I think more so just lack of real rings. I know he got one when he was older. You know how people kind of feel about that.
Rich Paul.
Right. Like, and I just think triple doubles being so much more common. Yeah. Guys like Big O don't, that like the triple double is such a big thing that Russ just, went insane with it. And then you saw guys like, Luka, LeBron, like all these guys, like Jokic, like they're just
triple doubles like nothing.
Triple double in their sleep. So I think with that going on and just one title, you don't really hear him in those GOAT talks anymore.
Interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree with Ani. I think he was relevant to me because I would always hear about how he averaged a triple double for a season. And when Russ was getting close, everybody's like, oh my God, Russ is going to do it. He's going to do it. And then he did like 4 times. So now it's like, and the way that people just hate Russ, I feel like that even waters the triple double down even more, which is so sad because it's very hard to do. I mean, as a player, I get triple doubles fairly often too. And it's hard. It's not easy. Like it's really hard.
Triple double. Yeah.
So, it's become easy now because, and I'm not talking about for me personally, but just for in the NBA because, everybody's doing it and the league has changed. The same with scoring. How many seasons did we see this guy having 60, 50, 70? Like, like that was like unheard of. Like, and now it's something that happens all the time.
Donovan Mitchell's getting it.
Yeah. Exactly. So, I knew of Big O because of my dad, but the most relevant he was to me was the fact that he did the triple double thing. And then now that's not a thing anymore that anybody really cares about. So
yeah, that has changed a lot in 20 to 25 years. I'll be honest with you guys. When we have this type of talk 25 years ago, he was 2, 3, 4 for a lot of people, even the younger people, because I guess they like Magic Johnson and Bird. So they're like, man, that guy had a lot of triple doubles. And so basically you're in summary, you're saying the more and more people don't like Russ, the less and less Oscar is going to be talked about. Is basically what it boils down to. That's
I mean, it's just the triple double thing in general, and I think that Russ will be appreciated when it's all said and done.
Oh,
Like,
yes.
you don't really appreciate somebody until they're gone, and not gone like in life, but like not playing anymore. And then we can look back at more positive, news cycles of Russ as opposed to a lot of the negative stuff that we see. Like even now from him being released, instead of the reports being, just the Lakers go their separate ways, it's Russ was a vampire. Like, some of the stuff is just like weird and unfair. So
Sure.
I think that, Oscar, is kind of not benefiting from the fact that everybody does triple doubles now. And then so that's just what it is.
Yeah, that's too bad. We wish we could talk more about them, but we got to get close to wrapping up. I appreciate you guys giving your insight on your top five. That was fun. Great. I learned a little bit, some good points. Chelsea, you're kind of right. Jordan kind of gets certain knocks and things like passes and knocks. He gets knocks and passes, but a few passes on his team accolades. Chelsea, and from your end, I don't see how. I guess Kobe would be back to Kobe. Like, you don't get outplayed by a guy your position and be the best of all time. I guess that's. And Tim Duncan is a big one. You went in him number 5. That'd probably be unpopular for certain people, but that's a good pick because that kind of hurts. Sure. That kind of hurts Kobe Bryant in my eyes. Like, you don't let a guy on your watch get 5 rings.
Right.
How many rings did guys get on Jordan's watches? I think your main point, Ani. Like whether it's Barkley, Malone, whoever. Like they got the donut. You know what I mean?
Yeah, Drexler, all of them.
Yeah, they got the donut. So that's a good point for Duncan. So we appreciate you guys tuning in. We appreciate that. Congrats again to LeBron on being the all-time leading scorer. Again, we have a lot of episodes coming up. A lot of playoff basketball, WNBA preview, NCAA tournament preview, and then we're going to get into another NBA draft. It just keeps going. So, that's all for this week, episode 154 for Chelsea Hopkins and Ani Mata. We appreciate it, guys.